Chapter 1171. Ning Shu smelled the herbs, which were used to reduce swelling and stop bleeding. He didn't expect Wen Liang to know about herbs. Since he knew about these things, why was he having such a hard time? Wen Liang's hands were red and swollen. Apparently, the weather was cold. He used both hands to wrap a cloth around Ning Shu's leg. Ning Shu stared at Wen Liang. Wen Liang wasn't tall, and his face was sallow. However, his facial features were regular, and his eyes were dark. He didn't look like he was carved from jade, but he looked quite pleasing to the eye. Wen Liang was the only one in this family. With Wen Liang's appearance and the situation of this courtyard, this family situation shouldn't be that bad in the past. You can recuperate here during this time, Wen Liang said as he tied a knot. Ning Shu opened his mouth and whimpered, which made Ning Shu quite speechless. Wen Liang ran to the kitchen and dug out two black things from the hole in the stove. They looked like potatoes and sweet potatoes. Wen Liang put them in a bowl and gave one to Ning Shu while he gnawed on the other. Eat, this is the only thing in my house. When you are better, go back to the mountains. It's better to be in the mountains than here. Ning Shu had been hungry for a long time. After staying in the trap for 2 days, he was injured and bleeding. He was cold and hungry. There was a baked sweet potato. Ning Shu quickly finished the baked sweet potato. Wen Liang saw the little fox gnawing on the sweet potato and couldn't help but say, "Aren't you afraid of the heat?" Ning Shu wiped his mouth with his front paws. He suddenly felt like he was about to collapse. He didn't know if he was similar to an animal. Wen Liang poured some water into Ning Shu's bowl. Ning Shu stuck out his tongue to lick the water. The water was cold. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. This child. How should she repay Wen Liang? All the people in the world wanted was money, power, and strength. Or did Wen Liang have a wish that she could help him fulfill? The house was very quiet. Wen Liang was drinking water when suddenly there was a bang 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 sound of the door being knocked. As soon as Ning Shu heard the voice, he knew it was not a friendly one. He then looked at Wen Liang's face. When Wen Liang heard the sound of the door being smashed, his expression became very angry and hateful, mixed with a sense of powerlessness and sadness. The banging on the door grew louder and more urgent. There was even an exasperated voice. "Wen Liang, open the door for me. Don't think you can escape by hiding at home. Open the door." The people outside kept shouting. Wen Liang picked up Ning Shu and stuffed Ning Shu under the blanket. "You stay here and don't come out. You must not come out. Otherwise, you will be taken away by those people." Wen Liang covered Ning Shu tightly with a blanket. Wen Liang closed the bedroom door and took action to deal with those people. Ning Shu crawled out of the bed and listened to the noise at the door. "Wen Liang, quickly move out of this house. This house belongs to the family. I don't know where that damned father of yours died, but your mother ran away with him." Wen Liang's voice was low and angry. "Don't talk about my parents. And your sister, I don't know which human trafficker cheated her." The other party kept provoking Wen Liang. When Ning Shu heard these words, he could not help but be speechless. Could this Wen Liang have the fate of being a jinx? People with such a fate were either protagonists or villains. If it was a protagonist, it was to train the protagonist's mind. If it was a villain, these things were enough to distort the villain's mind. His father, mother, and younger sister were all gone. How miserable! These people poked at people's sore spots. Wen Liang was just a young boy. It was not easy for him to endure until now. "You have today to move out quickly. You are occupying such a good place. The family wants to use it for business. This is my house. What right do you have to make me move out?" Wen Liang raised his head and said stubbornly. His body was stiff, his fists were clenched, and his body was trembling. "If you say this is your house, then it is your house. The family temporarily let your parents live in this house. I didn't expect you to be so shameless and take the house for yourself. This is my house. Get out of here." Wen Liang shouted and pushed these people out of the door. "Wen Liang, you've really grown up. Don't forget, my great-grandfather is a foundation establishment cultivator. If you dare to harm a single hair on my head, my great-grandfather can destroy your soul with a single finger. This town is under my great-grandfather's control. Before you make a move, you have to think about the consequences." the man in the lead said proudly. This man was less than 20 years old and had a domineering look. Although Foundation establishment cultivators were only at the beginning of cultivation, they were already different from mortals. They were called immortals by ordinary people and had a longer lifespan than ordinary people. Moreover, there were very few people who could cultivate. Only 1 in 100,000 people had a spiritual root. When Liang thought of this great-grandfather, he clenched his fists tightly and endured it. He was not willing to retreat. They were in a deadlock. Not only were there many sects in this world, there was also the royal family. It was said that the royal family had a spirit formation cultivator. These powerful cultivators were like the country's nuclear weapons to the royal family. They could deter other countries. Every place was managed by cultivators with a cultivation base. They let cultivators manage it because they were afraid that other cultivators would cause trouble in the country. This town was managed by this man's great-grandfather. When Ning Shu heard these words in the house, he could not help but frown. This world was very cruel. If you had power, you had the right to speak. This was obviously Wen Liang's house, but these people took Wen Liang's house by force. There were also cultivators who killed each other and stole all kinds of cultivation resources. This was just a remote town. If he went to a more prosperous place, he was afraid that there would be more powerful cultivators. Ning Shu jumped out of the bed and jumped out of the window. In a flash, he entered the kitchen. "Big brother, I just saw something flash by." The person next to the man in the lead quickly said to him, "What is it?" The man rubbed his eyes. He thought that he was seeing things. "Wen Liang, don't blame me for not giving you face. We are still from the same family. When are you moving out?" Wen Shui stretched out his finger and poked Wen Liang's chest, causing Wen Liang to take 2 steps back. Wen Liang looked at Wen Shui with a stiff neck. "I'm not selling. This is my house. I want to wait for my parents to come back." "Sell? Who wants to buy it? I'm asking you to move out now. This is the family's property. Who else do you want to sell it to? Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you." Wen Shui sneered. "Wen Shui, are you really going to kill me?" Wen Liang clenched his fists tightly. "You really don't know what's good for you. This house was given to you by the family to live in, and now you're actually taking it for yourself. Don't you have any shame? Don't you have any shame?" Wen Shui slapped Wen Liang's face loudly. Wen Shui purposely humiliated him. Wen Liang's face was ashen. He stared straight at Wen Shui. Chapter 1172. Wen Liang had been insulted by his clan brothers several times. Although they were both surnamed Wen, they weren't close. Most of the people in this town had the surname Wen. Wen Liang couldn't figure it out. He hadn't done anything wrong to these people. Instead, they bullied him because he was weak. They even wanted to rob his house. Wen Liang gasped and stared at Wen Shui with red eyes. "What are you looking at? If you're not convinced, I'll dig your eyes out. You're a jinx who killed your whole family. How dare you look at me like that?" Wen Shui was a little frightened by Wen Liang's eyes. He reached out and pushed Wen Liang hard. Wen Liang was pushed to the ground. Wen Shui rolled up his sleeves and wanted to beat Wen Liang up. It wasn't a big deal to kill someone in this world. Suddenly, a black shadow pounced on Wen Shui and stretched out its sharp claws. Several deep claw marks appeared on Wen Shui's arm and blood splashed out. Ning Shu lowered his body and bared his teeth in a ferocious manner. Wen Shui froze for a moment and then wailed in pain. The others supported Wen Shui. Blood kept flowing out of Wen Shui's arm. Wen Shui lifted his injured arm with one hand and looked at the beast that grabbed him. Its whole body was black, covered in plant ash and some mud. Looking at its shape, it was hard to tell what it was. "Ah!" Wen Liang looked at Ning Shu in surprise. "Hiss!" Wen Shui gasped in pain. "Catch this beast for me." Wen Liang stood in front of Ning Shu. "The wound on your arm will definitely rot if you don't treat it." Wen Shui knew that Wen Liang was coaxing him, but the wound really hurt. It was burning and this beast was so dirty. What if something really happened? One of them stared at Ning Shu for a long time. "What the hell is this?" Ning Shu squeezed out 2 words from his throat that were not standard dog language. "Woof, woof, woof," Wen Liang quickly said. "If you don't go, my dog will bite off your necks." The people on the other side shrank their necks. Wen Shui stared at Wen Liang and Ning Shu fiercely. "I won't let you go." They hurriedly left. Wen Liang let out a long sigh and closed the gate. He turned around and saw Ning Shu. He squatted down and said, "Thank you for today. Otherwise, I would have been beaten again." Again? It seemed like this wasn't the first time the other party had come knocking. "Let me wash you." When Liang saw that Ning Shu's body was covered in ashes and mud from the stove holes, Ning Shu took a step back, not allowing Wen Liang to wash him. If they were to wash and reveal their white hair, they would be skinned and made into scarves. Wen Liang thought about it and didn't insist on giving Ning Shu a bath. Wen Liang's expression was filled with worry. Clearly he was worried. Wen Liang got some vegetables from the ground and boiled some vegetable soup without oil. He gave Ning Shu a bowl of soup and drank a bowl of it himself. Ning Shu stuck out his tongue and licked the soup in the bowl. This damned instinct. The sky was already dark, and a day had passed just like that. It was cold in winter and even colder at night. Moreover, there was no light in the house. There wasn't even an oil lamp. Wen Liang was usually alone. He would save as much as he could. He couldn't even fill his stomach, so it didn't matter if he couldn't see. Wen Liang couldn't hold it in any longer. He lay down on the bed with his clothes on. Ning Shu curled up at the foot of the bed and began to cultivate. In this cruel world, one had to have the strength to protect themselves and Wen Liang. The room was quiet. Only the whistling of the cold wind outside the window could be heard. "Little fox." Wen Liang's voice suddenly sounded. Ning Shu whimpered. Wen Liang's voice suddenly choked. He lay on the bed and looked at Ning Shu. "What should I do? When will my parents come back? If they come back and know that my sister is missing, they will be very sad." Wen Liang's voice sounded very sad in the darkness. "I shouldn't have gone into the mountains that day and left my sister alone at home." Ning Shu wanted to ask Wen Liang how long had it been since his parents left, what did his parents do, and how long had his sister been missing. But what came out of his mouth was a whimper. Finding his parents was Wen Liang's wish. But the world was so big. It was easier said than done to find a single person, let alone several people. The world was so big. The vastness of hell was simply unimaginable. Wen Liang rambled on. Ning Shu occasionally whimpered, indicating that he was listening. Ning Shu wanted to extract some useful information from Wen Liang's words. Ning Shu inhaled and exhaled spiritual energy while listening to Wen Liang. He learned that Wen Liang's father was a doctor and his mother was a cultivator. Wen Liang's father went to see a patient. On the way back, he heard that he met a devil cultivator who captured his father and one of his disciples. When Wen Liang's mother heard this, she told Wen Liang, who was only 7 years old at the time, to take good care of his sister and would be back soon. This soon had been 5 years since then. Wen Liang took care of his 5-year-old sister and waited for the family to reunite. In the end, when his sister was 8 years old, she went missing. Wen Liang was usually like a little adult, alone. Now that he had someone to talk to, he cried and talked. It made people feel particularly sad when they heard it. Now, Wen Liang still held the hope that his parents would come back. He also felt guilty for his sister. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. Wen Liang's parents were already dead. It was almost a 90% thing. How could Wen Liang not know it in his heart? He was just deceiving himself. As for Wen Liang's sister, she was a girl who was abducted by others. Or she ran away because she wanted to play. Her ending was not good. Optimistic, an expert took a fancy to Wen Liang's sister's root bone and took her to enter the path of cultivation. If not, then she would have fallen into a dirty place. Moreover, Ning Shu had an even worse guess in his heart. Wen Liang's mother was a cultivator. A cultivator's daughter was very likely to inherit her mother's root bone. She was the best candidate for a human furnace. Of course, a cultivator was better. The body of an ordinary woman could not withstand the ravages of a male cultivator. Moreover, the effect was not necessarily good. Ning Shu saw that Wen Liang did not have any cultivation. Since his mother was a cultivator, why didn't Wen Liang's mother teach her son to cultivate? Could it be that Wen Liang did not have a spiritual root? There were many mysteries in Ning Shu's mind. Wen Liang cried and fell asleep. Even in his dreams, he was sobbing. Ning Shu did not sleep for the whole night. He cultivated for the whole night and used some spiritual qi to heal the wounds on his body. When the sky was about to brighten, Ning Shu quietly jumped onto the bed. He saw that when Liang's face was tear-stained, but he was sleeping soundly. Ning Shu jumped out of bed and went out through the dog hole in the courtyard's wall. He ran for a while and ran to the back of the mountain. Ning Shu's gray clothes looked even darker and dirtier under the contrast of the white snow. Chapter 1173. Ning Shu stepped on the snowy ground. The meaty pads under her feet made no sound as she stepped on the snow, leaving a series of tiny footprints. Ning Shu wanted to hunt some game, but when Liang's food was unsightly. Looking at Liang, it was obvious that he was malnourished. It was a little difficult for such a young child to take care of himself and fill his own stomach. Ning Shu trotted on the snow and looked around. But it was winter now, and there were very few animals wandering in the forest. Ning Shu walked around and didn't see any game. But she saw a porcupine. This thing had thick skin, and her claws didn't do much damage to it. At most, it would bleed a little. The porcupine huffed and puffed as it dug into the snow. Its fangs were 2 fingers long. Ning Shu measured her fighting strength and realized that she couldn't kill the porcupine in one move. She couldn't use her claws, and she couldn't bite off the porcupine's neck. She didn't have a lot of spirit energy in her body, so she couldn't release her qi gene. Ning Shu resentfully gave up on the porcupine. She buried herself in the snow and caught a colorful pheasant. Ning Shu bit off the pheasant's neck and ran back with the pheasant in her mouth. She went through the dog hole and went straight to the kitchen. Liang sat in front of the stove in a daze. He looked a little sad and sighed. Ning Shu put the pheasant beside Liang. Liang saw Ning Shu come back and smiled. "I thought you left." Liang talked to Ning Shu for most of the night and was already close to this fox. He didn't feel ashamed that she knew his secret. After all, she was a fox and wouldn't tell anyone. "Ning Shu, are you sure?" Ning Shu pushed the pheasant in front of Liang. Liang picked it up and patted Ning Shu's head. "Thank you, little fox." Liang added some water to the pot and prepared to scald the pheasant. "By the way, I can't call you little fox in the future. People will know that you're a fox," Liang said as he added firewood. No matter where it was, foxes were animals that humans both desired and loathed. Her fur was worth a lot of money. Ning Shu whimpered. In the past, she had always been the one to give names to others. Now, it was her turn to be at the mercy of others. Every dog has its day. This feeling was really too good. Ning Shu wanted to object, but his voice came out as a whimper. "Little White." Ning Shu thought, as expected, "No, you can't call me Little White. People will know that you have white hair." "Blackie." "Ning Shu, I don't feel like talking." Even if her name wasn't Ning Shu, she still had the name by Sanyang. Thus, Blackie's name was decided. Ning Shu felt that this was a dark history that he could not bear to look at directly since he had transmigrated. Little Black Liang cleaned up the pheasant, chopped it, and threw it into the pot to stew. After stewing for more than 2 hours, the smell of chicken soup could be smelled. Liang was not in a hurry and continued to stew. Ning Shu turned to look at Liang. Liang's face looked very solemn under the light of the fire. When heaven bestows a great responsibility on a great man, it must first torment his will and work his muscles and bones. The suffering he endured now was for him to soar to the sky in the future. 10 years to sharpen a sword. Ning Shu wanted to pass on his peerless martial arts to her, but she could not speak. He did not know how to pass it to her. Moreover, Ning Shu was afraid that he would reveal too much and attract unnecessary suspicion. The human heart was the most unpredictable thing. "Quick, Little Black." Liang filled a bowl with meat and soup and placed it in front of Ning Shu. Liang took a bowl for himself. The two of them ate the fragrant pheasant on the pile of firewood in the kitchen. Ning Shu ate the meat. Sure enough, foxes still needed to eat meat. The taste was too good. The food that he ate slowly turned into a warm current that flowed to every corner of his body. It was very comfortable. Liang's face was smeared with oil. His face did not look as sallow as before. The two of them finished the pheasant and even drank the soup. Yi Liang tidied up the kitchen and went to the yard to pick up some herbs. He crushed it and applied it to Ning Shu's leg. "Thank you." Yi Liang bandaged Ning Shu's wound while his eyes turned red. Ning Shu did not know that this child loved to cry so much. Even when facing those people who bullied him, his eyes did not turn red. Last night he cried for most of the night. Now his eyes were red. This was a lonely and burdened child who suddenly had a companion. There was a feeling of dependence. Ning Shu's throat let out a whimper. She was really a nanny. Ning Shu actually wanted Yi Liang to leave here. There was no point in guarding this house. Moreover, she injured Yi Shui and his group yesterday. They definitely would not let her go. As long as she was strong, it would be more efficient than waiting here for them to come back. Yi Liang's parents were definitely dead. Perhaps she could find her sister. Why didn't Yi Liang participate in the sect's assessment? Even if it was a cultivation sect, they had to accept talented disciples. Ning Shu's mind was filled with thoughts of how to get Yi Liang out of his current predicament. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. She could not keep catching pheasants for this fella. In such a cruel world, the only way to survive was to become stronger. Only by becoming stronger could one survive. Just like when Yi Shui threatened Yi Liang. Yi Shui was so fearless because there was a foundation establishment stage cultivator in his family. That was power. Yi Liang did not dare to resist because he was afraid of this power. Ning Shu did not know if Yi Liang had spiritual roots. Yi Liang tied a knot. Ning Shu said, "Don't run around for a while. Take care of yourself." Ning Shu whimpered and lay on the ground. She closed her eyes and started to cultivate. Yi Liang saw the little fox lying on the ground. The ground was so cold. Yi Liang found some small clothes and old clothes from the old wardrobe. These were clothes that Yi Liang could not wear. Yi Liang spread the clothes on the ground and made it look like a nest. "Go sleep on the clothes. The ground is too cold." Ning Shu opened her eyes and slept on the clothes. While Ning Shu was cultivating, Yi Liang was handling the herbs in the courtyard. Presumably, he had learned his knowledge of herbs from his father. Ning Shu sighed in her heart. This cultivation speed was really slow. There is a demonic beast inside. Really? A demonic beast that looks like a dog. The sound of people talking outside the courtyard was mixed with chaotic footsteps. There were obviously a lot of people. Yi Liang suddenly stood up and rushed into the house. "Hurry up and leave. Someone is here to catch you. Go through that dog hole. Hurry." Yi Liang was so anxious that his forehead was sweating. Ning Shu frowned. She had already dyed her fur black and barked like a dog. How could they tell that she was a demonic beast? Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the door being kicked could be heard. There was no one to open the door. The door was directly smashed open. A group of people rushed into the courtyard, making the whole courtyard seem a little crowded. Yi Liang's herbs were trampled. The leaves of the herbs were stuck to the ground. Chapter 1174. Ning Shu did not expect that the other party would come again today. After suffering a loss, they wanted to take revenge on the spot. These people blocked the courtyard and made a racket. Find a chance to run. I'll go stop them. Don't let them catch you, okay? Yi Liang, Ning Shu said anxiously. Yi Liang ran out and shouted at these people, "What are you doing in our house?" Yi Liang saw so many people, and there were a few burly men. One of them was holding a cage in his hand. Yi Liang's heart trembled. He knew very well what this cage was. This was a magic tool used by those demon beast traffickers. This magic tool was very powerful. This cage could be big or small. As long as one was trapped in the cage, one would not be able to escape. The suppression of the demon beast was very strong. After being locked in, the demon beast would be as weak as a kitten or a puppy. Yi Liang, hurry up and hand over that little bastard. Don't think I don't know that it's a demon beast. Yi Liang, you're actually with a demon beast. Yi Shui's arm was hanging around his neck. Because of his anger, his face was distorted. Little Black is not a demon beast. She's a dog. Yi Liang said loudly. He silently prayed that Little Black would leave quickly. Whether it's a dog or a demon beast, these demon beast traffickers will know at a glance. That little bastard injured me like this. I'm going to stew her. Yi Shui said viciously. There were a few deep scratches on his arm. If it was more serious, his arm would be crippled. Yi Liang straightened his chest and said with a trembling voice, "You were the one who attacked me first. Little Black was only protecting me. That beast's demon nature has not been removed. Today, she only injured me. Tomorrow, she might hurt other people in town. Great-grandpa is in charge of this town. I can't allow something like this to happen. I'm doing this for the sake of the town." "Yi Liang, are you trying to get others killed?" Yi Shui pinned the blame on Yi Liang's head. "You're a jinx. Not only did you kill your own family, but you also want to kill the entire town?" Yi Liang was stunned by Yi Shui's roar, but he still firmly said, "Little Black is a dog, not a demon beast." "She's not a demon beast. Whether it's a demon beast or not, we'll know once we call her out. Are you guilty of not handing over the dog?" Yi Liang was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He knew that Yi Shui was doing it on purpose, but there was nothing he could do. Looking at these demonic beast traffickers, Yi Liang's heart was filled with despair. He didn't know if the little fox had left yet. Several people pushed Yi Liang away. Yi Liang fell to the ground and hurriedly stood up. Yi Shui sneered, associating with a demonic beast and even sharing a room with a demonic beast. Everyone rushed into the room and saw a black shadow appear in front of them. Then they felt pain on their faces. Something sharp had cut the skin on their faces. "Ah, my face, my eyes," everyone immediately wailed and covered their faces. Ning Shu jumped up and clawed at Yi Shui's bandaged wound again. "Oh!" Yi Shui's cry was particularly shrill. Quickly capture this beast." Yi Shui gnashed his teeth and shouted. Ning Shu, the demonic beast dealer, threw out the cage in his hand. The cage slowly grew larger. Seeing this cage, Ning Shu's heart was filled with a sense of irritation. Moreover, his entire body felt weak. Ning Shu dodged the magic tool. The magic tool missed and flew towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu jumped up, raised her claws, and clawed at the artifact. The magic tool was slammed into the wall by Ning Shu's claw. With a clang, it didn't fall apart. Quickly leave." Yi Liang could also see that their situation wasn't optimistic. Ning Shu called out to Yi Liang and used his mouth to pull on Yi Liang's clothes. There were many of them. They had to run first. Yi Liang anxiously said, "You leave first. They won't dare to do anything to me." "Ning Shu, that won't dare to do anything to you." Everyone's body had been scratched by him. It would be strange if they let Yi Liang go. Especially Yi Shui. Quickly go." Yi Liang pushed Ning Shu. How could Ning Shu leave? Bai Sanyang would regret it for the rest of her life because she left. This matter was Bai Sanyang's inner demon. "Yi Liang, you colluded with demonic beasts and wanted to harm the entire town. I will capture you and let my great-grandfather judge you." Yi Shui's face was very pale. His face and arms were injured. Moreover, his arms were injured twice. The blood on his face was warm. Yi Shui suspected that he would be disfigured. The servant beside Yi Liang ignored the wounds on his face and hurriedly applied medicine on Yi Shui. I didn't hurt anyone in the town." Yi Liang straightened his neck. The blood vessels on his neck were bulging and his neck was crimson red. "What is that?" Yi Shui endured the pain and asked the demonic beast dealer. "A bit like a fox." "Oh, so you were with a fox spirit. You were enchanted by the fox spirit and did such a crazy thing," Yi Shui said hatefully. Now everyone was treating the wounds on their faces. Some of the demonic beast dealers were blinded by Ning Shu's claw and were lying on the ground wailing. A demonic beast's body was a treasure. Its bones and fur could be used to refine weapons. Its flesh contained the energy of heaven and earth. It was very valuable. Ning Shu used all her strength to drag Yi Liang towards the direction of the dog hole. The most important thing now was to stay alive. Houses and other things were just external objects. As long as one was alive, there was hope. "Chase," Yi Shui said ruthlessly, "I wanted to let you go, but I didn't expect you to be so vicious. Raising a demonic beast to attack people. Yi Liang, you are dead." Yi Liang was stunned for a moment. Seeing Ning Shu dragging him, he turned over and ran quickly. He followed Ning Shu through the dog hole and went towards the back of the mountain. These people chased after them, following the footprints on the snow. Yi Liang ran breathlessly. The people behind him were getting closer and closer. Ning Shu looked at these footprints. As long as there were these footprints, they would not be able to escape. Ning Shu thought for a moment. He used his claws to dig a hole in the snow and let Yi Liang lie down. Then he used the snow to cover Yi Liang, leaving a hole for him to breathe. After burying Yi Liang, Ning Shu ran back. He wanted to fight with these people so that they would not be able to catch up. Ning Shu circulated the energy in his body and rushed towards those people like a gust of wind. These people were stepping on the snow. In the blink of an eye, a black shadow appeared in front of them. Its claws danced and the sound of cloth being torn could be heard. Then he felt a chill. The wind blew on his butt and balls. He looked down and saw that his pants had fallen off. He quickly pulled up his pants. If he pulled up his pants, he would not be able to block the attack. Ning Shu waved his claws. Every claw brought out traces of blood. Hurry, hurry up and kill this beast. Yishui shouted in exasperation. A demonic beast trafficker's magic tool grew bigger and bigger. It pressed down on Ning Shu, wanting to lock Ning Shu in a cage. Chapter 1175. Ning Shu really hated this kind of cage. As long as she was within its range, she would feel powerless. She didn't know which cultivator made this kind of magic tool. This kind of magic tool was specially made to deal with demonic beasts. Even though Ning Shu's soul was that of a human, she still felt powerless. As the cage got bigger, the range of the radiation also got bigger. Ning Shu was also in the radiation zone. That feeling of powerlessness became more obvious. Ning Shu mobilized the energy in her body and ran away like a wisp of smoke, disappearing into the white snow. If she had the chance, she definitely had to research what the cage was made of to be able to have such an effect. This demonic beast trafficker probably had some big power behind him. Otherwise, how could a normal demonic beast trafficker have something like this? And normal people could use it too. Ning Shu ran for a while. Seeing that no one was following her, she laid on the snow and panted with her tongue out. Even though she wasn't very strong now, her claws were not to be underestimated. Those people had her claw marks on their bodies. It looked like they wouldn't chase after her for now. Ning Shu went to the place where Yi Liang was buried. From afar, she could see the snow moving. Clearly Yi Liang was struggling. Ning Shu ran over and threw the snow away. Huff huff huff. Yi Liang's breathing was hurried. If you didn't come back, I would have suffocated to death. Ning Shu, didn't you leave a hole for breathing? Yi Liang stood up and looked at the town at the foot of the mountain. He shook his head and said, "Looks like we can't go back. What about the house?" Ning Shu knew that Yi Liang didn't care about the house. It was just a thought. He felt that as long as there was a house, his family would come back. He was afraid that if he left, his family wouldn't be able to find him. Ning Shu and Yi Liang whimpered. They finally escaped. If they went back, they would be walking right into a trap. It's never too late to take revenge. With power, you can do anything you want. I know. I won't go back. Yi Liang couldn't help but sigh. He reached out and patted Ning Shu's head. From now on, we really have to rely on each other and travel to the ends of the world. Yi Liang glanced at the town at the foot of the mountain, then turned around and walked away. Let's go quickly. With Yishui's vengeful personality, he will send people after us very soon. Yi Liang said. Ning Shu didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but he felt that Yi Liang was more relaxed than before. Yi Liang also knew that his chances of defending the house were slim. The other party was powerful, and they even had a foundation establishment cultivator as their backer. In the eyes of mortals, cultivators were incomparably powerful existences. They didn't even have the courage to resist. Ning Shu followed beside Yi Liang. The cold wind howled, gradually covering their footprints in the snow. Ning Shu was somewhat familiar with this mountain ridge. Rather than saying that she was familiar with it, it should be said that Bai Sanyang was familiar with this place. Ning Shu brought Yi Liang to a cave. This cave was very deep and dry. It should have been the cave of some wild beast or demonic beast. Little Black, it's good to have you by my side. Yi Liang said. If he was alone, it would be much more difficult. With someone to rely on and warm each other, he would have the motivation to persevere. Yi Liang squatted in the corner of the cave, rubbing his body with his hands. The weather was very cold. Ning Shu raised his claws and placed them on Yi Liang's body. After a while, he transmitted his qi into Yi Liang's body. Until now, Ning Shu still didn't have the body of a fox. It was not like the body of a human, so he was familiar with the tendons and veins. When the qi was transmitted into Yi Liang's body, Yi Liang only felt a warm heat flowing to every corner of his body. Before, he was so cold that his body was trembling and his teeth were chattering, but now he wasn't cold at all. Yi Liang looked at Ning Shu with some surprise. His black eyes were full of surprise. There were fragments of light shining in them, like stars. It was like the deep night sky. Ning Shu saw from Wen Liang's pupils his own dark self. Ning Shu whimpered and tried hard to speak, but the pronunciation system of humans and animals was different. Ning Shu couldn't straighten his long tongue. Animals could speak. Fairy tales were all lies. With such a long tongue hanging outside and such a long mouth, how could he pronounce with his lips cracked to the neck? Ning Shu felt that it was not easy for him to become a human. It was not easy to cultivate as a spiritual monster. Transcending tribulations was too difficult. Ning Shu thought about it and decided to practice ventriloquism. He had to communicate with Yi Liang. If this continued, he could only be cut by others without any strength to fight back. Ning Shu went out to see if there was anything to eat. The deeper he went into the forest, the more animals there were. It was too dangerous inside. Other than cultivators with the ability to protect themselves, ordinary people like hunters would be in danger. Ning Shu wanted to get some game, but he didn't have a fire. He didn't know if he could drill wood to start a fire. Moreover, it was a world of ice and snow. The firewood and grass were all wet. Ning Shu could only hope that there would be some fruit. However, what fruit could there be in this world of ice and snow? Ning Shu jumped into the stream in front of him and washed the dirty things on his body. It was snow-white everywhere. It was best to be the same color as the surrounding environment. Ning Shu went ashore and shook off the water on his body. Ning Shu was speechless. This damned instinct. Ning Shu wandered around but didn't see anything edible. However, he found a fiery red fruit on the edge of a cliff. In this weather, there was no snow around the fruit tree. Even if snowflakes fell, they would melt quickly. Ning Shu vaguely felt heat radiating over. This was good stuff. It was obvious that this was some kind of heavenly treasure. Perhaps eating it could increase one's cultivation. Senior brother, it's here. It's a fiery fruit. Ning Shu heard the sound coming from afar and hurriedly hid. He saw 3 cultivators flying on swords. They were 3 young cultivators. The 3 of them were flying on swords. It seemed that their strength wasn't weak. Ning Shu stared at the thing called the flame fruit, calculating in his heart the probability of obtaining it. 10%, less than 10%. Previously, when he was dealing with some ordinary people, he was already a little powerless, let alone 3 cultivators. It's really a fiery fruit. If we get it, we can temper our spirit roots. A cultivator's voice was filled with uncontrollable excitement. I didn't expect that there would be a fiery fruit in this small place. Ning Shu heard that it could temper one's root bone. It meant that this thing could burn the impurities in the body. This was really a good thing. Ning Shu stared at the fruit and almost drooled. However, there were 4 of them. The 3 of them could share one each. Ning Shu's heart was scratching. If he could give one of these fruits to Yi Liang, if Yi Liang had a spirit root, even if he didn't, he could burn the impurities in his body. His meridians would be unobstructed and he would be able to cultivate peerless martial arts at a flying speed. Ning Shu didn't dare to go out rashly. If he really went out, he would definitely be killed. To be able to fly on swords, his strength shouldn't be weak. However, he wasn't willing to give up on the fiery fruit. Ning Shu stood guard at the side, looking for a chance to pick it up. Chapter 1176. In the face of such a treasure, the 3 cultivators didn't hesitate to grab it. Such a treasure was priceless. Whether they ate it or sold it, it would be a fortune. For fruits, it would be great if they could grab one more. Although the 3 of them weren't fighting, their thoughts were clear. The three of them flew toward the flame fruit on the cliff. However, as soon as the three of them flew in, thumb-sized moths flew towards them. No one had noticed the moths before. These moths were attached to the cliff and the color of their bodies was similar to the color of the cliff. Now that someone was approaching, these moths swarmed over. When they flapped their wings, white powder fell down. This powder was from the moth's wings. This thing was poisonous. In a world of ice and snow, the moths should have frozen to death. But there were so many moths gathered here. They should be using the flame fruit to warm themselves. Moths were attracted to light and heat. They needed the flame fruit to warm themselves through winter. Now that they saw someone picking the fruit, these moths swarmed over. The moths surrounded the three people. Using a knife to cut these moths was like using a cannon to kill mosquitoes. These moths pounced on people's faces and eyes. Plus, they were poisonous and had a lot of killing power. But don't forget that these three people were cultivators. One of them cast a spell and released a fire dragon. In an instant, the moths in front of him were roasted and fell to the ground. The air was filled with the smell of burnt protein. But there were too many moths. They burned wave after wave. Although they didn't have much fighting power, they were very annoying. Ning Shu glanced at the flame fruit on the cliff. His entire body was trembling. Then he used his chi to step on the edge of the cliff and ran to the flame fruit. This flame fruit was only the size of the tomato sanctus fruit. Ning Shu took two with his mouth and ran. Ning Shu didn't dare to stay for a moment and ran away. "Senior brother, a beast took two." A cultivator couldn't help but say angrily. While he was talking, a moth pounced into his mouth. The moth's wings flapped in his mouth, disgusting him. His entire mouth and lips were numb. He had been poisoned. Ning Shu held the blazing flame fruit in his mouth and ran very fast. The temperature of the blazing flame fruit was very high, and Ning Shu felt that his tongue was about to be scalded and blistered. The saliva in his mouth was about to boil. However, Ning Shu still had to wrap his mouth properly. Otherwise, the moths would catch up. He kept two flame fruits to prevent those moths and cultivators from chasing after him. Moreover, there were three people in the two fruits. It would be great if he could kill three with two peaches. If the three of them didn't share equally, there would definitely be a dispute. Ning Shu ran towards the cave while Yi Liang was waiting for Ning Shu at the entrance. It was too cold outside. Yi Liang held his clothes tightly with both hands and kept jumping to keep warm. Seeing that Ning Shu had returned, he couldn't help but laugh. Ning Shu ran into the cave and hurriedly spat out the blazing flame fruit in his mouth. He stuck out his tongue and blew on it. Ning Shu's tongue was scalded red. He couldn't help but sigh. The world was so big that nothing was too strange. A fruit could be so hot. Where did it absorb the heat from? Ning Shu spat out the blazing flame fruit. Immediately, heat radiated out from the cave. The entire cave became much warmer. "What is this?" Yi Liang had a look of surprise. Because of the cold, he couldn't help but approach the fruit. Ning Shu pushed a blazing flame fruit in front of Yi Liang. Yi Liang glanced at Ning Shu and picked up the blazing flame fruit. "Wow, wow, wow, it's so hot." Yi Liang tossed the blazing flame fruit back and forth with both hands. "But it's very warm." Ning Shu demonstrated by eating the blazing flame fruit. When he bit into the blazing flame fruit, the juice inside instantly burst out. The feeling was like eating soup dumplings in the hottest days. The juice splashed all over his mouth. It was too hot. Ning Shu swallowed it expressionlessly. Yi Liang made a sound of surprise. "Is this food?" Ning Shu nodded. It wasn't hot at all. Yi Liang gritted his teeth and threw the fruit into his mouth. He instantly wanted to spit it out. It was too hot. Ning Shu raised his paw and lifted Yi Liang's chin. Yi Liang lifted his chin and swallowed the blazing flame fruit with a gulp. Yi Liang stuck out his tongue and exhaled. It was extremely uncomfortable. It was as if he had drunk a bowl of boiling oil. His throat and stomach were about to be melted. Later on, his limbs were unbearably hot. Yi Liang felt as if he was being tortured in a pot of oil. So hot, so hot. Yi Liang lay on the ground and tugged at his clothes. His face was distorted. His face was extremely distorted. His skin was bright red, like a cooked prawn, and sweat was dripping down his body. Bear with it, Ning Shu said in his heart. It wasn't that easy to cleanse the muscles and marrow. Yi Liang's sweat poured down like rain. His clothes were soaked and the veins on his forehead were bulging. As time passed, Yi Liang's sweat gradually became murky. It was as if someone had brushed a layer of black charcoal ash on his body. Yi Liang was in so much pain that his consciousness became blurry. He spat out black blood in clumps with a fishy smell. This was the impurities and dirt in his veins and organs being forced out. In the end, Yi Liang lay on the ground and groaned. Only the sound of his weak breathing could be heard. He was in extreme pain. Now that it wasn't so painful, he fell into a deep sleep. Ning Shu's black nose twitched. Damn, it smelled so bad. Ning Shu ate the fruit. It was also hot, but it was still tolerable. Ning Shu's white fur was also dyed black. The impurities in his body were expelled. Ning Shu felt as light as a swallow. He could clearly feel the spiritual energy around him. Seeing that Yi Liang had fallen into a deep sleep, Ning Shu also lay down beside him and started to absorb the spiritual energy. Sure enough, after opening the conception and governing meridians, Ning Shu felt that the speed of absorbing spiritual energy was much faster than before. Ning Shu fell into a half-asleep state. The spiritual energy around him started to gather. It was like a funnel gathering on Ning Shu's body, forming a spiritual energy vortex. Of course, ordinary people couldn't see the spiritual energy. They could only feel that the surrounding air pressure was a little low. After cultivating for an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu opened his eyes. He didn't see Yi Liang. The cave was still smelly, but there was no trace of Yi Liang. Ning Shu's heart jumped. Where did this guy run off to? He ran out so recklessly. What if he bumped into the cultivator who snatched the flame fruit? That person was definitely deader than dead. Where did he run off to? Ning Shu came out of the cave and prepared to find Yi Liang. Once out of the cave, Ning Shu met Yi Liang. He was carrying a rabbit in his hand. When he ran, his body was very light. In an instant he was in front of Ning Shu. Today we are eating roasted rabbit. Yi Liang grabbed the rabbit's ear and shook it in front of Ning Shu. Yi Liang probably went to take a bath. The dirt on his body was gone, revealing his snow-white skin. Chapter 1177. Previously, Yi Liang's skin was sallow due to malnutrition, but after removing the impurities from his body, his skin became clear. His skin was white with a tinge of red. His good skin made his eyebrows look much better. It was really a case of white covering up three ugly things. Ning Shu stared expressionlessly at the flailing rabbit. Is there a fire? Eat it raw? Ning Shu expressed that even a beast like her did not have such a strong taste. Yi Liang skinned the rabbit with difficulty and dealt with the internal organs. Ning Shu dug a snow pit and buried the internal organs. The smell of blood might attract other carnivores, such as wolves. Ning Shu did not know if there were any demonic beasts in this place. After dealing with the rabbit, Yi Liang found a problem, and that was that he did not bring the fire starter with him. He was in a hurry to escape and did not have a fire starter with him. Yi Liang looked at the bloody rabbit with some hesitation. Then Yi Liang whimsically took 2 stones and hit them, wanting to make sparks. Ning Shu lay on the side, staring at the panting Yi Liang. Yi Liang hit it for a while, but did not make any fire, so he threw the 2 stones away. Yi Liang stared straight at the rabbit, then pulled off the rabbit's leg and placed it in front of Ning Shu. Then, he tore off a leg and put the bloody leg into his mouth. Ning Shu, he really did eat it raw. Yi Liang put it into his mouth a few times, but did not have the courage to eat it. Little Black, I want to go home, go back and get something. Yi Liang said to Ning Shu. Yi Liang felt that he had a hard time in the past, but now that there was no fire, it was strangely not painful. Humans really needed companionship. When Ning Shu heard that Yi Liang wanted to go back, he could not help but be speechless. If he went back now, he would definitely die. He did not know when the other party would come to search the mountain, but he actually wanted to go back. Ning Shu bit Yi Liang's clothes. He could not go back. If he was hungry, he would eat snow. Don't. Ning Shu circulated his qi in his chest, vibrated his vocal cords, and finally threw out a word from his nose. But this word was very vague. However, Liang jumped in fright and looked around. Who's talking? Ning Shu saw Liang's shocked expression and gave him a claw. Little fox, you can talk now? Liang quickly grabbed Ning Shu's 2 front limbs and lifted Ning Shu up. Ning Shu revealed his white belly and 2 rows of little boobs. Ning Shu thought, what the fuck? Ning Shu pressed his claws on Liang's face and broke free from his control. Little fox, you're the one talking, right? Liang had a plum blossom mark on his face as he looked excitedly at Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Liang smiled foolishly. It was good to be straightforward. Liang couldn't eat the bloody rabbit, so he buried it in the snow. Then he scooped up 2 mouthfuls of snow and swallowed it. He shivered twice and returned to the cave. Liang sat down next to Ning Shu. Are you a demonic beast? Ning Shu's voice was very strange. Then what's your name? Ning Shu's qi circulation was very shaky, so he didn't answer him. Then are you a male fox or a female fox? Liang asked curiously. Ning Shu, I didn't expect you to be such Liang. Sensing Ning Shu's disdainful gaze, Liang's face turned red. He didn't talk about gender and turned to look at the vast snowy mountain outside. Liang's expression was a little worried. If they continued like this without eating or drinking, they would starve to death. Ning Shu circulated his qi and familiarized himself with his ventriloquism. The sky gradually darkened and the wind outside was biting cold. Liang sat close to Ning Shu and felt the heat radiating from his body. It was very warm. Little Black, when can we leave this place? Liang didn't expect Ning Shu to answer and asked himself. Ning Shu had his own considerations. Not only did he have to consider Yi Shui's group, he also had to consider the 3 cultivators. He didn't know how the 3 of them were doing. With his current strength, he couldn't beat the 3 of them, not to mention Liang, who was a trash. Liang fell asleep next to Ning Shu. Ning Shu began to cultivate and the surrounding spirit qi gathered. The next day, Liang woke up with a yawn. Then he went outside the cave and ate some snow. Liang. Ning Shu called out to Liang. Because it was ventriloquism, Ning Shu's voice was abnormally low. It was hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. Liang threw away the snow in his hand and walked into the cave. He was gentle and intimate. You called me? I have a set of secret manuals. It's passed down. I'll pass it to you. Ning Shu stuttered, mainly because he couldn't catch his breath. Ning Shu had a cultivation manual, but he didn't know if Liang had spirit roots. He wanted to go after waking up. Peerless martial arts were popular and didn't care about one's roots. Really, but I don't have spirit roots. When I was young, Mother said I didn't have spirit roots. Liang seemed a little agitated. He really didn't have spirit roots. Sit cross-legged. Ning Shu said. Ning Shu slowly explained the cultivation method to Liang. After talking for a while, he had to rest. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to catch his breath. Ventriloquism was really too difficult. Under Ning Shu's guidance, Liang sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. It was probably because he had cleansed his muscles and marrow. There was no obstruction in his meridians and he absorbed the spirit qi very quickly. Not long after, Liang felt the spirit qi enter his body. So magical. Liang opened his eyes and clenched his fists. Thank you, Little Black. Ning Shu grunted. I only have this secret manual in my head. It should be passed down to me by my ancestors. Ning Shu didn't want Liang to think that he was an inexhaustible treasure. He only wanted to pass down the peerless martial arts to Liang. This was enough for him to protect himself. Ning Shu had been cultivating the peerless martial arts until now. Little Black, thank you. I can go find my parents and sister now. Liang's eyes were a little red. I can get my house back. I want to find that demonic cultivator, Liang rambled on. In the past, he didn't have enough strength. There were some things he didn't dare to think about. Now that there was a strong hope, some things were close at hand. The child who was at a loss suddenly found a goal. He began to become calm and determined. Liang rubbed his eyes and began to cultivate. Ning Shu said, keep your mind calm. Yi Liang slowed down his breathing and gradually entered the best state. Yi Liang felt the pleasure of cultivating. He didn't eat or drink and began to cultivate. His body was surrounded by spirit qi. Ning Shu was relieved and began to cultivate. Take it slow, and one day she would become stronger. As he cultivated, Ning Shu's ears moved. After cultivating the peerless martial arts, her ears and eyes were very sharp. She felt that someone was coming. She could vaguely hear the sound of a dog barking. Ning Shu pushed Yi Liang, interrupting his cultivation. Yi Liang opened his eyes. Little Black, what's wrong? Someone is coming. Is it Yi Shui and the rest? Yi Liang stood up and moved his body. His bones made, Papa, this sounds like beans being fried. Senior brother, there are spirit qi fluctuations here. A voice sounded from the cave entrance. Chapter 1178. Senior brother, there's a spiritual energy fluctuation, there must be some treasure. I didn't expect this small place to hide so many good things. Ning Shu heard someone talking at the entrance of the cave, and his heart was in a mess. This was called misfortune never comes singly. Yi Shui chased over, and there were cultivators over here. Ning Shu couldn't help but look at Yi Liang. This guy wouldn't have the fate of being a jinx, right? How unlucky he was. But Ning Shu said to Yi Liang in a low voice, run straight out of the cave. Ning Shu and Yi Liang ran out of the cave in a flash. There were two cultivators flying on their swords above the cave, and they saw a person and a fox running out of the cave. Senior brother, she's the fox that picked the blazing flame fruit. A cultivator pointed at Ning Shu. The other cultivator said in a low voice. The two of them flew on their swords, and Ning Shu and Yi Liang flew over. Yi Liang had just started cultivating a peerless martial art, and although he was as light as a swallow and could run fast, he still couldn't compare to the cultivators flying on their swords. Soon, Yi Liang and Ning Shu were blocked by the two cultivators. Hand over the blazing flame fruit. One of the cultivators said sternly, and his voice exploded in Ning Shu and Yi Liang's ears. It made their hearts tremble, and they felt extremely uncomfortable. Yi Liang was just a child, and being surrounded by two immortals, he was a little scared, but then he thought of the fruit that Little Black gave him yesterday, and tightly pursed his lips, not saying a word. Ning Shu's body was lying on the ground, and he stared at the two cultivators with his hair standing on end. There were 3 cultivators, but now there were only 2, and he was afraid that one of them had met with a mishap. Maybe it was these 2 who did it. Cultivators seized the good fortune of heaven and earth to nourish their bodies, such as natural treasures. For these resources, they were willing to kill others and rob them of their belongings. But he didn't expect that they could even do it to their fellow disciples. Ning Shu had some doubts in his heart. Wouldn't it give birth to inner demons? Very few people walked to the end of the path of cultivation. Countless people were eliminated by their roots, and a portion of people were eliminated by their cultivation state. Everything had a cause and effect. Child, hand over the item. The cultivator looked at Yi Liang with an oppressive gaze. Yi Liang's body trembled as he clenched his fists tightly. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take anything from you. Yi Liang, this child, liked to put on a strong front. He was obviously scared, but he still put on a strong front. It was pitiful and funny to see him like this. Ungrateful bastard. One of the cultivators with a fiery temper wanted to attack. Hey, Junior Marshal brother. Another cultivator stopped him and took out an ingot of shiny gold. Kid, give us the fruits that the fox took away earlier, and this gold ingot is yours. Although the long-browed cultivator was trying to coax Yi Liang, there was a very arrogant look on his face. Yi Liang had never seen such a large ingot of gold and was momentarily dazed. Yi Liang was from the secular world and felt that gold and silver were very precious things. However, to cultivators, gold and silver were not worth much and could only be used to refine tools occasionally. The hard currency between cultivators was spirit stones. Yi Liang looked away from the gold and said sincerely, Immortal, I really don't see any fruit. I clearly saw that the fox took it away. The short-browed cultivator with a thin face immediately said. Ning Shu's ears twitched. The people over there were also coming this way. Soon, there were dog barks mixed with human voices coming this way. The dogs are very excited, they're nearby. The fox's foxy smell can be smelled from far away. The voices were getting closer and closer, and more than 10 people appeared. Immortal. The people who came to track Yi Liang saw the cultivators flying on their swords and immediately called out respectfully. A few of them were pulling a few black dogs. The black dogs seemed to know the power of the cultivators and hid behind them while whimpering. The two cultivators had a proud look on their faces. "What are you doing?" Replying to Immortal, "We're here to capture this child. This child is a traitor to the clan and we're going to capture him." "Wait a minute, this person has something we want," the thin-faced cultivator said with a straight face. "Immortal's matter is more important." Ning Shu let out a long sigh. With the two families gathered together, the chances of escaping were not very high. "If I say run, run, don't look back," Ning Shu said to Yi Liang in a low voice. Yi Liang's tears almost came out. Ning Shu let out a ferocious roar and told Yi Liang to run. Then, with a leap, he attacked the two cultivators. "Insignificant demonic beast." The long-faced cultivator sneered with incomparable contempt. Yi Liang turned around and ran quickly. Under the nourishment of the qi, his body was as light as a swallow and he ran very fast. Originally, the two cultivators had the mentality of playing cat and mouse, but seeing this child run so fast, they immediately wanted to give chase. Ning Shu waved his claw and a dragon-shaped qi roared and rushed forward. The cultivator used his sword to slash at it and the qi was scattered. Ning Shu's claw heavily slapped down on the sword. The thin-faced cultivator grunted. "Go catch him." The long-eyebrowed cultivator shouted to the stunned people next to him. He was currently dealing with a few transparent dragon-shaped qi. "Ah yes." It was only now that the onlookers reacted, pulling the black dogs to chase after Yi Liang. Ning Shu roared full of malice and killing intent, baring his fangs at the black dogs and making a ferocious face. The black dogs were so scared that they whimpered and ran away with their tails between their legs. Even the people couldn't hold them back. Instead, the people were dragged away by them, falling on the snowy ground and being dragged away. It was a complete mess. Trash. The two cultivators couldn't help but curse as they saw how chaotic the situation was. Mortals will always be mortals. Ning Shu also didn't know how far Yi Liang ran. Dealing with two cultivators was very taxing for Ning Shu. Bastard. The thin-faced cultivator had a bad temper, instantly became angry. A fire dragon rushed towards Ning Shu. This thin-faced cultivator cultivates a fire-type scripture. No wonder he has such a bad temper. Even though Ning Shu dodged the fire dragon, there were still some sparks that hit him. His fur was burnt black, giving off a burnt smell. "Don't worry about that bastard. Chase after that kid." The long-eyebrowed cultivators scattered the dragon-shaped qi, returning it to Ning Shu's dantian. Ning Shu was a bit tired, but he was determined not to let these two catch up to Yi Liang. "That damn mother of mine." Ning Shu crazily circulated his ultimate martial art, compressing the spirit energy he absorbed into his body into liquid form. A water dragon slowly rose from behind Ning Shu. The water dragon let out a soundless roar, and its huge body swept toward the two of them. The two of them blocked the water dragon together, cutting it in half with their swords. But right after that, the body that was cut in half returned to normal. Ning Shu's veins all over his body were in pain. Suddenly compressing spirit energy caused his veins to become twisted and twisted. Ning Shu didn't want to fight to the death with these two cultivators, so while they were busy fighting the water dragon, he quickly chased after Yi Liang. Because its master was far away, the water dragon's presence slowly weakened, finally turning into spirit energy. Chapter 1179. After Ning Shu got rid of the two cultivators, she immediately chased after Yi Liang. As he ran, he smelled the faint scent in the air, which was left behind by Yi Liang. After the two cultivators dealt with the spiritual energy water dragon, the thin-faced cultivator could not help but curse, "Damn it, we let that beast escape. What's the hurry? I put a soul-chasing seal on that kid, he can't run away." The long-eyebrowed cultivator said lightly, not worried at all. "Senior brother is so thoughtful." The two of them flew on their swords and chased. Ning Shu ran a long way before he caught up with Yi Liang. When Yi Liang saw Ning Shu, he hugged Ning Shu and tightly strangled Ning Shu's neck as he wailed, "Little Black, I thought you were never coming back. You scared me to death." Yi Liang left Ning Shu alone, feeling worried and guilty. Now that he saw Ning Shu, he could not help but cry. Yi Liang's current mood was the same as Bai Sanyang's. He might not be as good as Shi Youfu. Ning Shu was now extremely tired, his whole body was aching. He said to Yi Liang, "Let's go, I'm afraid they will chase after us." Yi Liang wiped his tears, seeing Ning Shu's limbs trembling. He hugged Ning Shu, "I'll carry you." Ning Shu did not say anything, his veins were all twisted. Every step he took felt like he was walking on a steel knife, so it was best if Yi Liang carried him. Yi Liang carried Ning Shu on his shoulder and ran quickly. Up until now, she had not run far, but Ning Shuxin's sense of urgency and crisis were getting stronger and stronger. After transmigrating so many times, he still had a sense of danger. "So," Ning Shu said. The two of them should have been targeted. The cultivation methods were endless. It was impossible to guard against. "What's wrong?" Yi Liang asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked inside her body and didn't see any marks. Her body was clean. Ning Shu stared at Yi Liang. His claws landed on Yi Liang's body and he released his qi gene. A trace of qi gene traveled to every corner of Yi Liang's body. In the end, he found something that looked like a mark on the back of his neck. His qi transformed into the shape of a dragon and swallowed the mark, isolating it. "I can't sense the imprint." The long-browed cultivator, who had not gone too far after Ning Shu, stopped and frowned. "If one's cultivation base is not as high as mine, they will not be able to remove my imprint." The long-browed cultivator's face turned grim. "Who's the one who ruined our plans?" The thin-faced cultivator said irritably, "So, should we chase after them or not? If that person's cultivation base is too high, we might end up offending that person if we follow him. If that person is someone with a strange disposition, we might end up in trouble." The thin-faced cultivator was somewhat concerned. "No matter what, I can't give up on these two blazing fruits." Regardless of whether he consumed them himself or sold them for spirit stones, they were still worth a lot of money. The two cultivators still chased after them. On the other side, Ning Shu frowned. His qi could only wrap around the imprint, but it could not completely destroy it. He could only use his spirit qi to slowly dissolve it, but he did not know when he would be able to do so. It was as if he was carrying a ticking time bomb. "What's wrong?" Yi Liang touched the back of his neck. Ning Shu asked. "Someone planted a tracking device on us." "It should be those two cultivators who did it," Ning Shu said honestly. Yi Liang's eyes widened and he quickly touched his neck. "Is that true?" "There is no danger for the time being. Let's go," Ning Shu said. Yi Liang grunted and hurriedly carried Ning Shu on his shoulder and ran. "Ning Shu, I don't like being carried on someone's shoulder. It makes me want to throw up." Yi Liang carried Ning Shu and ran blindly. When he could no longer run and stopped, he did not know where he was. Ning Shu jumped down from Yi Liang's shoulder and looked at the surrounding situation. In fact, their situation was the same no matter where they were. They were wandering everywhere. This was no longer the place Ning Shu was familiar with. Ning Shu sniffed the air, trying to analyze what kind of animals there might be in the surroundings. But now that it was snowing, many of the scents were covered. Yi Liang was so tired that he lay on the ground and panted. He grabbed some snow and stuffed it into his mouth. Ning Shu's whole body hurt. He had to cultivate now and use his spirit qi to repair his twisted meridians. "We have to find a place now. I'm injured," Ning Shu said. "Little Black, where are you injured? Is it serious?" Yi Liang asked Ning Shu nervously when he heard that he was injured. "Let's slowly find a place to spend the night. In this kind of weather, if they were still outside at night, they would not be able to endure the night." Yi Liang carried Ning Shu and wandered in the forest. Finally, they found a cave. However, the cave was smelly. There was a bear hibernating inside. Yi Liang saw the bear and turned to run. Yi Liang did not think that he could defeat a bear. After cultivating for a night, Yi Liang did not think that he had become stronger. Yi Liang carried Ning Shu and found a new place. They found a small cave. Ning Shu and Yi Liang squeezed inside and could not stretch out. Ning Shu lay on the ground and began to slowly absorb spirit qi and cultivate. Ning Shu's meridians throbbed in pain. The qi in his body began to slowly repair his twisted meridians. Yi Liang saw that Ning Shu was cultivating and also began to cultivate. The spirit qi in the surroundings gathered towards the two of them. Yi Liang had eaten flames before, so his meridians did not have any impurities. His absorption of spirit qi was smooth and his cultivation speed was very fast. Ning Shu used all his qi to repair his meridians. Although it was still twisted and stinging, it was much better. The next morning, Yi Liang stopped cultivating. He touched his growling stomach. He felt that he had not eaten for a long time. "Little Black, we have to find a place with people to eat. We will starve to death." Yi Liang carried Ning Shu and climbed out of the cave. Ning Shu licked a few mouthfuls of snow. Yi Liang also grabbed some snow and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, he carried Ning Shu on his shoulder and hurried on. As he cultivated, Yi Liang's movements became lighter and lighter. Carrying Ning Shu, he ran very fast. The trees and scenery were constantly receding. Ning Shu checked the back of Yi Liang's neck. The mark was still there. It was wrapped in qi and he did not know when it would dissipate. Yi Liang was very afraid of being discovered by the two cultivators. He did not care about anything else and kept running. Heaven did not disappoint those who worked hard. Yi Liang finally found human habitation. There was a straw hut beside a pond. In winter, there were actually lush flowers blooming in the fence. As soon as he walked in, he could smell a strong fragrance of flowers. "Little Black, we found a house. We finally don't have to squat in the cave." Yi Liang was only a 12-year-old child. Now that he saw a house, he was overjoyed. Ning Shu was not optimistic at all. There was only one house in the mountain. There were no other people. Ning Shu suspected that it was an illusion. Chapter 1180. At first glance, one could tell that this house was not normal. It was surrounded by snow, but the courtyard in front of the door was filled with flowers. "We are not going." Ning Shu and Yi Liang said, "This place is not normal at all." Yi Liang stopped in his tracks. A house that appeared in a world of ice and snow was very attractive to Yi Liang. But when Yi Liang heard Ning Shu's words, he struggled in his heart. The most important thing was that he had not eaten for a long time. His stomach was empty. "Guests outside, come in." A clear voice sounded. It sounded like a woman's voice. "Little Black, you see, the master has invited us. Should we go in?" Yi Liang and Ning Shu asked. Before Ning Shu could say anything, the voice from inside rang out again, "Come in." Yi Liang carried Ning Shu into the house. Ning Shu's body tensed up. He was extremely vigilant. He had reason to suspect that the master of this house was a monster. Yi Liang opened the door and saw a woman sitting in front of a table. She was dressed in a white brocade robe. Her slender fingers were holding an elegant teacup. White smoke was rising from the teacup. This woman looked like a hibiscus. She had bright eyes and white teeth. Her skin was tender and delicate. She was beautiful. From the outside, it looked like a thatched house. But inside, it was a woman's elegant room. As soon as he opened the door, he smelled an elegant fragrance. There was even an incense in the house. When Yi Liang saw such a beautiful woman, he became cautious and quickly took 2 steps back. The woman put down the teacup and looked at Yi Liang. "Young man, come in." The woman glanced at Ning Shu, who was on Yi Liang's shoulder. Her lips curled up slightly, making her look even more beautiful. "Thank you." Yi Liang walked into the house. He immediately felt a warmth. He smelled the fragrance in the air. He became more cautious. "Sorry to disturb you." The woman stood up and said kindly, "It's okay. I am usually alone. It's not easy to have a guest. I am Hongji. I am Yi Liang. This is Little Black." Yi Liang said. When he spoke, his stomach growled. Yi Liang's face turned red. "Sit down. I will prepare something for you to eat." Hongji was very understanding. "Thank you." Yi Liang smiled when he heard that there was food. Ning Shu stared at Hongji's back. In any case, he felt that Hong Ji was not a human. She could also be a Yao beast in human form. It was even possible that this was an illusion. If a demonic beast could transform, it meant that this demonic beast was quite powerful. Hong Ji probably saw that Yi Liang and Ning Shu were very hungry, so she prepared several dishes. Ning Shu sniffed the food to see if it was poisoned. Then he said to Liang, "Eat." Hong Ji looked at Ning Shu with an unclear expression, but she didn't say anything. She just watched Ning Shu and Yi Liang eat. Yi Hao hadn't eaten anything for a few days. Now that he had something to eat, he wolfed it down and swept the table clean. After eating, he burped. Seeing Hong Ji staring at him, he said embarrassedly, "Thank you for your hospitality. I'll go and tidy up your rooms. You'll sleep here tonight." Hong Ji said, "Actually, I want to keep you here. It's mainly because it's too lonely to stay here alone. It's good to have someone to chat with." "Thank you." Yi Liang kept thanking her. Hong Ji tidied up a small room. There was a bed in the room. It was relatively simple, but Yi Liang felt that it was like heaven. It was much better than a cave. Ning Shu discreetly sized up Hong Ji. It was strange for a woman to live in such a deep mountain. It was not a normal kind of strange. So Ning Shu suspected that she was a Yao beast. One must be up to no good. Hong Ji's attitude towards her and Yi Liang was very attentive. "Why are you looking at me?" Hong Ji felt Ning Shu's gaze and turned to look at him. Ning Shu lightly said, "Because you're beautiful." Hong Ji couldn't help but smile. Her face was like a blooming flower, brilliant and dazzling. "Little mischievous, you're quite good at talking." Hong Ji slightly leaned over and tapped Ning Shu's black nose. "You're also good-looking. This white fur without any impurities is very good." Ning Shu was speechless. Did this girl want to peel her skin and make a scarf? Ning Shu took 2 steps back. "It's quite lonely to be here alone. Why don't you go out for a walk?" Hong Ji touched her face. "If I go out with this face, I'll cause disasters wherever I go. I'll become an enchantress who brings disaster to the world." Ning Shu's face was indifferent. "As long as you're happy." The sky gradually darkened. Yi Liang hadn't slept for several days. He fell asleep the moment he laid on the bed. Ning Shu was lying on the other side of Yi Liang. He curled up his body and cultivated while looking around. If this was an illusion, it was too realistic. If it wasn't an illusion, Hong Ji was definitely an old monster in the deep mountain. Her beautiful appearance could also be an illusion. Although it was a thatched hut and the cold wind was howling outside, it was very warm inside. There was no wind blowing in. But in this situation, Ning Shu didn't dare to relax at all. Although the quilt was very warm, he wanted to sleep. In the middle of the night, Ning Shu heard the sound of the door opening and then the door closing. There were no footsteps and no lamp. She floated to the side of the bed. Hong Ji leaned over and sniffed Yi Liang's body. Ning Shu faintly said, "What are you doing?" In the darkness, Hong Ji smiled sweetly and said, "I'm here to see if he kicked the quilt. He's still growing at this age." On such a cold day, she woke up in the middle of the night. She was really a warrior. And she was here to cover Yi Liang with a quilt. Even his own mother might not be able to do that. "I'll cover him. Thank you for your concern," Ning Shu lightly said. He didn't believe Hong Ji's words at all. Hong Ji turned around and left. Ning Shu frowned. He had to leave at dawn tomorrow. He couldn't stay in this place any longer. He felt that there was something on Yi Liang that attracted Hong Ji. The direction of the plot was unknown. The plot was completely unpredictable. Because the plot between Bai Sanyang and Yi Liang came to an abrupt end when Yi Liang was separated. After that, Bai Sanyang had been cultivating. She didn't know about Yi Liang's situation. After Hong Ji left, Ning Shu stepped up his cultivation to repair his damaged meridians. With strength, he could calmly face all kinds of things and unforeseen events. Yi Liang slept until dawn. His face was glowing. He stretched and saw Ning Shu on the other side of the bed. He stretched out his hand and touched Ning Shu's head. "If only I could live like this forever," Yi Liang said with a sigh. It was comfortable. He didn't have to hide and sleep on a soft bed. Ning Shu lightly said, "Don't look for your parents, don't look for your sister?" Yi Liang sighed, "I'm just sighing." If I want to live like this, I have to be with my family. Yi Liang came out of the room and saw the flowers in full bloom in the fence. He was amazed, but he also felt strange. Chapter 1181. Flowers bloomed according to season. With so many flowers squeezed into the fence and blooming regardless of season, it was obvious that something was wrong. Yi Liang stood at the door and stared at the flowers in the fence. The door next door opened with a creak. Hong Ji stood at the door, dressed in white. There were lotuses painted in ink on her white clothes. Hong Ji stood at the door and was a beautiful sight. She was as beautiful as a painting, making people sink into her beauty. Yi Liang glanced at her and quickly retracted his gaze. "Young man, you're awake?" Hong Ji turned around and walked towards Yi Liang. When she walked, lotus flowers bloomed with every step. She walked leisurely and was extremely beautiful. Ning Shu came out of the house and stood in front of Yi Liang between the two of them. Hong Ji had no choice but to stop and look at Ning Shu. Finally, she said to Yi Liang, "I'm going to make breakfast. What do you want to eat?" As the host, Yi Liang said politely. When he spoke, his ears were red. Yi Liang was not a person who was good at communicating with others. In the past, he was always alone. Now that there was a fairy-like woman talking to him, Yi Liang was nervous and shy. His whole body was sweating like needles. Hong Ji smiled gently and turned to the kitchen. Ning Shu followed behind Hong Ji and followed her into the kitchen. With Hong Ji's complicated clothes and white clothes, how could it be suitable for cooking? Hong Ji minded her own business and lit the fire with a fire starter. Ning Shu saw the fire starter and narrowed his eyes. He thought of a way to make a fire starter. On the way to escape, she and Yi Liang had no way to eat. It was because there was no fire starter. Hong Ji made meat porridge and had not eaten it yet. Just the smell of it made people salivate. Hong Ji scooped a bowl of meat porridge for Yi Liang. Yi Liang hurriedly took it. "Thank you." Hong Ji stared at Yi Liang, who was eating the porridge. Yi Liang's face turned red from Hong Ji's stare. He said, "You eat too." "I'm not in a hurry." "You eat," Hong Ji said lightly. Hong Ji glanced at Ning Shu. "Is this your pet?" Hong Ji smiled and asked Yi Liang, "This fox has always been by your side?" Yi Liang nodded. "Little Black has always been by my side. He's very good to me and has saved me several times." Ning Shu was somewhat baffled. How did the topic suddenly turn to her? Seeing the inexplicable smile on Hong Ji's face, Ning Shu felt that her heart was definitely not holding anything good. Ning Shu was speechless. Along the way, they had met all kinds of people. They had finally gotten rid of the Yi clan, only to meet cultivators instead. Now that he had met Hong Ji, whose identity was unknown, the only thing he could be sure of was that Hong Ji was not an ordinary person. "Then do you know something?" Hong Ji's lips curled up. When she spoke, her cherry lips moved slightly, revealing her white teeth. Yi Liang was a child, so he was naturally very curious. He asked, "What is it?" Hong Ji glanced at Ning Shu. She propped up her chin and lazily said, "Unlike human cultivators, demon beasts need to cultivate powerful strength. It is not easy for them to transform into human form. However, the foxes of the Spirit Fox clan can transform into human form by eating human hearts." Ning Shu was speechless. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Ning Shu coldly reprimanded Hong Ji. Hong Ji laughed softly. She stretched out her tender finger and drew circles on Yi Liang's chest. "Especially a strong heart. It can give a fox powerful strength and a beautiful appearance." Yi Liang took a step back in horror. "No way." Ning Shu glared at Hong Ji. This damned demoness was deliberately trying to sow discord between her and Yi Liang. Eating human hearts, Ning Shu would not do such a thing. Humans would eat demon beasts. Demon beasts would also be interested in the bodies of cultivators. It would be beneficial to their cultivation. It would only hurt each other. But it would not be like what Hong Ji said. It would not allow one to obtain powerful strength and beauty. "Don't be afraid to see the world in chaos," Ning Shu said in a low voice. Then he shouted at the somewhat sluggish Yi Liang. "Yi Liang, Little Black, do you want to eat my heart?" Yi Liang was a little scared. His expression was a little panicked. He tried to calm himself down. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. Then he said firmly, "Why would I want to eat your heart? Your heart does not have such powerful strength. Just a few words from others can shake your heart. What kind of strong heart is this? Eating human hearts and being able to transform into a human form? That's just nonsense. Power is accumulated bit by bit. What kind of power can a lump of meat have?" Ning Shu's voice was getting lower and lower. Then if a human eats the meat of a powerful demon beast, would they become an expert? Ning Shu was speechless. Yi Liang's face loosened. "That's right. Little Black, I'm sorry. I actually doubted you." Hong Ji covered her mouth and laughed. Ning Shu looked at her with disdain. "Laugh, your sister." Looking at Hong Ji's dead face, Ning Shu really wanted to fuck her to death. Her hair would be disheveled and she would not recognize anyone. Hong Ji's charming eyes were like silk. "Young man, I already said that this is the secret technique of the Spirit Fox clan. Only the Spirit Fox clan has this kind of secret technique. A lump of meat does not have any power. What the Spirit Fox absorbs is the essence and blood of a human." Ning Shu was speechless. He looked at Hong Ji coldly. "Are you done yet? Don't tell me that you are following this young man because of his ethereal body. This body is not bad. It has no impurities and is filled with spirit energy." Hong Ji said with an intoxicated look. Yi Liang was speechless. "You want to eat me?" Yi Liang pointed at Hong Ji in horror. Hong Ji shook her head. "It's not that I want to eat you. It's that little fox that has been following you. I don't eat human flesh. This little fox is following you because it wants to get your heart and transform into a human." Hong Ji supported her chin and said lazily. Ning Shu directly laid on the ground and silently looked at Hong Ji. He had an expression that said, "I'll watch you continue to brag." "Little Black." Yi Liang and Ning Shu shouted. Ning Shu made an oath sound. "Let's hear what else she has to say." "Don't tell me that you don't believe me?" Hong Ji pouted. "To tell you the truth, I am also a fox. I am a red fox. I ate a scholar's heart." This scholar was overflowing with talent. He spoke eloquently and wrote beautiful articles. "I only transformed into a human because I ate his heart." Hong Ji's fiery red tail was revealed. Hong Ji touched her face. "That's why I have such a beautiful face." Although this world was a world of cultivation, the number of people who could cultivate was just a drop in the ocean. Studying was still a way to bring glory to one's ancestors. When Yi Liang heard that Hong Ji had eaten a scholar and saw Hong Ji's tail wagging, he immediately fell down from the stool. You are a fox spirit." Yi Liang stammered. Hong Ji tilted her head and looked at Yi Liang. "It's normal for me to be a fox spirit." Chapter 1182. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes when he saw Hong Ji's tail. Did she meet her own kind? As for eating hearts, Ning Shu thought it was just a story made up by people who were afraid of foxes. Ning Shu absolutely did not believe that eating a heart could make one transform into a human and have power. Even if it was possible, it definitely could not reach the end. This kind of shortcut, if one was not careful during the tribulation, they would be doomed eternally. Bai San Yang's soul was almost scattered because of her inner demon. But to go up, one must pass the tribulation. The tribulation was a test. If one passed it, they would become stronger and have a bright future. If they did not pass it, their soul would scatter, and they would not even have the chance to reincarnate. If Hong Ji really relied on eating hearts, the tribulation would be more severe. Without karma, one would be sinned, and the tribulation would be much stronger than ordinary ones. The heavenly Tao was more tolerant and doted on humans than other creatures. It was the first time Yi Liang saw a monster in human form, and it turned into a human form after eating a scholar's heart. He was frightened. You are a fox spirit. What do you want to do to us?" Yi Liang said calmly, if one did not look at his trembling calves. Hong Ji tilted her head. "What's wrong with me being a fox spirit? Don't you have a fox spirit with you?" Xiao Hei is different. Xiao Hei never said that she wanted to eat his heart. Hong Ji smiled sweetly. Young man, you are so naive and innocent. She doesn't eat your heart now because it is not the right time. Ning Shu, damn crazy. Ning Shu said expressionlessly, I don't know what benefits you can get by scaring him like this. Of course there are benefits. This person has an ethereal body. Everyone has a share. Let's divide him up. Hong Ji said with a smile. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Ethereal body? He just ate the flame fruit, so there were fewer impurities in his body. In addition, he cultivated peerless martial arts, so his body could absorb spiritual energy. Therefore, Hong Ji saw Yi Liang as a vessel that could absorb spiritual qi. Ning Shu felt that Hong Ji was full of mysteries. Even if she wanted to eat Yi Liang, she did not have to say it out loud. What was the point of saying it out loud? He could have just swallowed Yi Liang whole. Why did he have to say so much? Ning Shu had some guesses in his heart. Could it be that Hong Ji was not strong? Ning Shu suddenly got up and rushed towards the lazy Hong Ji. Hong Ji was not slow, and with a plop, she was pressed down by Ning Shu. What are you doing? Hong Ji wanted to throw away Ning Shu, who was on top of her. Ning Shu clawed at Hong Ji, then jumped up and smashed into Hong Ji's body. Puff! Hong Ji, who was hit in the stomach, almost vomited. Yi Liang watched from the side as Ning Shu continuously jumped up and pressed down on Hong Ji's body, not knowing what to say. Wah, you bully me, you bully me. Hong Ji burst into tears. Ning Shu was speechless. Hong Ji fluttered and turned into a red fox. Ning Shu bared his teeth, his eyes brimming with tears as he angrily rebuked Ning Shu, you're a bad guy. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu saw that this little fox was even younger than him. From its voice, it seemed like it was still in its infancy stage. However, it was actually able to transform into a human. That little black, she's the same kind as you. Yi Liang saw the little red fox and immediately felt that he was not afraid anymore. Ning Shu was speechless. Didn't Hong Ji say that she was a fox? Did she lack a brain? You bad guys, I'm going to tell Grandma that you bullied me. Hong Ji pointed at Ning Shu and complained. Why didn't you say that you were playing a prank on her? Ning Shu said angrily. She thought that this fox was very strong, but she was fooled. The surrounding illusion began to peel off inch by inch. The flowers in the fence disappeared, and the thatched cottage disappeared. Now they were standing on the snowy ground. 2 foxes and 1 person. So mysterious. Yi Liang looked around. Could it be that the things we ate just now were also fake? Of course not, I was the one who hunted it. You guys ate all my food. The little fox said in an aggrieved voice. Yi Liang felt a little apologetic. I'm sorry. The little fox gave a snort. Ning Shu asked the little fox, you're so small, how can you know illusion techniques? My grandma taught me, but I can only maintain it for 2 to 3 days. My grandma is the amazing one. She can create an illusion that lasts for several decades. The little fox said in a proud voice. Our Red Fox clan is good at illusion techniques, what about you? The little fox asked Ning Shu, what is the innate skill of your white fox? Ning Shu did not know what innate skill it was, so he just said, I'm strong. The little fox sized up Ning Shu and clicked its tongue. So pitiful, you must be someone without a family. Ning Shu saw that the little fox did not have any ill intentions. We're leaving, thank you for your hospitality. Can you give us a match? The little fox quickly asked, where are you going? I don't know, we're going out of this forest. Yi Liang said. I'll go with you. The little fox said on a whim. I refuse, I refuse. Ning Shu quickly said. For a fox with an innate skill like the little fox, it would cause chaos outside. If it was caught, it could use its innate skill to create an illusion. It was a great weapon. But you guys ate my food, so you should take me with you. The little fox said matter-of-factly. The people outside are unfathomable. It's best if you don't go out. You'll only be enslaved by humans. Ning Shu said. The little fox sighed like an old man. Grandma said the same thing. She said that people are bad. Ning Shu was too lazy to say anything to the little fox, so he said to Yi Liang, let's go. Okay. Yi Liang followed behind Ning Shu and turned back to look at the little fox. The little fox's fur was crimson red. It was exceptionally bright in the snow. Are we really not bringing her along? Liang asked. Ning Shu shook his head. Even people like me are caught by demonic beast traffickers. Someone like him will definitely be caught and will be hunted down again. Liang wiped his face. It's all because I'm useless. All strong people started out weak. No one is born strong. I believe that you can become a strong person. Ning Shu comforted Liang. Thank you, little black. Liang said as he quickly ran through the snow. His body was as light as a swallow, leaving only shallow footprints. Ning Shu and Liang hurried on. Ning Shu looked at the surrounding scenery. It was a vast expanse of white that he couldn't see the end. Ning Shu stopped in her tracks. Don't you think that we're going in circles after we've passed through this place? It was hard to tell directions in the snow, so they couldn't walk out of the forest. It can't be that little fox's illusion, right? Liang was the first to think of the fox that knew illusions. Ning Shu also thought that it was that fox. Chapter 1183. Ning Shu felt that it was the little fox's innate talent in illusions that was truly heaven-defying. It could trap people in illusions and make them unable to differentiate between reality and illusion. Little fox, come out. Ning Shu shouted. The little fox ran over from afar and appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. You called for me? Have you decided to bring me along? Remove the illusions. Ning Shu stared at the little fox. The little fox said in surprise, What illusions? I don't know. Just keep pretending. Does your granny know that you want to go out? It was obvious that the little fox's granny would not allow the little fox to wander around the human world, especially when the little fox was so young. I don't know. That's why I asked you to bring me along, the little fox said. Ning Shu stared at the little fox's mouth and asked curiously, How do you speak? She was using ventriloquism. This little fox was so small, how could it speak? That's what I said, the little fox said. Ning Shu. He felt that the Red Fox clan was really blessed by nature. Your granny is doing this for your own good. You can't imagine the human world. That's not it. Hong Jin said that the human world is really fun. There's good food, fun things, exquisite houses, and many, many people, the little fox retorted Ning Shu. If you don't bring me along, I won't remove the illusions. Let's see how you're going to leave, the little fox threatened. Ning Shu sat on the snow and said indifferently, Anyway, your illusions can only last for 2 days. We'll leave once the 2 days are up. Ning Shu turned to Liang and said, Sit down and cultivate. Liang felt that it was a problem of the two foxes' races. He did not care and sat down to cultivate. The moment he started cultivating, the surrounding spiritual energy slowly gathered. The little fox stared at Liang and praised, What an ethereal body. A body like his is very popular with demon beasts. It tastes mellow and crunchy, the little fox praised. Liang, who had been cultivating, was so frightened that he stopped cultivating. He was speechless for a long time. Ning Shu snappily said, He doesn't have an ethereal physique, he just ate a flame fruit. That's not bad. I heard that when humans eat the blazing fruit, they would mix it with other spiritual herbs to reduce the effects. The energy of the blazing fruit is too strong. If one is not careful, they will be burned to ashes. Only demonic beasts can withstand it. Liang turned to look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Hee, I'll give you the smile of an experienced driver. In their situation at that time, how could they have other spiritual herbs to reduce the medicinal properties of the flame fruit? No matter what, he had to eat it that way. Ning Shu was too lazy to talk to the little fox. He lay on the ground and began to cultivate. When the 2 days were up and the illusion disappeared, they would leave. The two of them began to cultivate and ignored the little fox. The little fox whimpered and glared at the two of them. The little fox dispelled the illusion. You guys can leave. Why isn't anyone willing to leave? Take me to the human world to see. Liang opened his eyes. Ning Shu said, Little Black, we don't need to rush to a place with people. I'll cultivate here. I want to get the house back. And my sister. She must have been taken away by someone she knows. Liang grabbed the snow on the ground and took a big bite. Speaking of his family, Liang's mood was very low. Ning Shu did not have any objections and asked, "Who do you think took your sister away?" "It must be someone I know." Liang wiped his face and said, "I've always suspected Yi Shui." Yi Shui was the tyrant of that town. He knew a lot of things. Liang even suspected that he was the one who took his sister away. Ning Shu asked, "Does your sister have spiritual roots?" "She should have." Liang said with uncertainty, "When I was young, I occasionally heard my mother tell my father not to let my sister cultivate the ruthless method." Ruthless method? The name of this method sounded like it was to destroy the 7 emotions and sever the 6 desires. Some cultivators, in order to pursue the supreme Tao, cultivated some methods that were quite extreme. It seemed like Liang's sister had spiritual roots. With spiritual roots, she would not have wandered to an ordinary place. "You guys are not leaving? That's good. You guys can play with me," the little fox said happily. "You're so naughty. Are you a male or female fox?" Ning Shu asked. "I'm male. I'll be the leader of the Red Fox clan in the future," the little fox said proudly with an expression that said, "Hurry up and kneel down and lick my feet." Ning Shu was very disdainful. "You're male. How did you turn into a female?" "My clan members say that humans all like beautiful women. I changed my appearance according to Hong Jin. Do I look good?" the little fox asked Liang. Liang nodded a little embarrassedly, "Yes." Ning Shu's disdainful face. It was originally a 2-person party, but it became a 3-person party. However, Ning Shu and Liang became the candidates for the little fox to test its illusions on. When it tested its illusions in the clan, it would be seen through by others, so it could only find someone else to test it on. Ning Shu could not be bothered with it. He cultivated on his own and occasionally gave Liang some pointers. Liang had already cultivated Qi Jin and was now in the process of transforming his Qi Jin. It required a large amount of spiritual energy. "Seeing that you've been my test subject for so long, I'll give it to you." The little fox held a spirit stone in its mouth and gave it to Liang. Ning Shu looked at the spirit stone. The quality was good and there were very few impurities. "What is this?" Strictly speaking, Liang had not really come into contact with cultivation, so he did not know what a spirit stone was. The little fox made a fuss about it. "A spirit stone. It's filled with spiritual energy. Don't you humans need this the most for cultivation?" "Thank you." Liang accepted the spirit stone. "Where did you get this spirit stone?" Ning Shu asked. "Oh, it's from the clan. Grandma gave it to me," the little fox said nonchalantly. Ning Shu said to Liang, "Hold it in your hand and channel your Qi Jin into the spirit stone." Ning Shu had wanted to set up a Qi Jin gathering formation, but when he remembered that he only had secret manuals for peerless martial arts in his head, he decided not to reveal it. Liang's cultivation progress was already very fast. Liang followed Ning Shu's instructions and held the spirit stone in his hand. Not long after, the spirit stone in his hand turned into powder. "His absorption speed is a little scary," the little fox said in surprise. "I heard from the clan that humans don't absorb spiritual energy that fast. Can you shut up? You talk too much all day," Ning Shu said in a huff. Whenever he encountered something, he would make a fuss about nothing. His incomparably surprised look gave Ning Shu a headache. The little fox harumphed and turned to leave, wagging its tail and swaying its butt from side to side. Ning Shu asked Liang, "Have you cultivated Qi Jin?" Chapter 1184. They had been in this forest for a few days now. According to Liang's cultivation speed, he should be able to form his qi. Liang stood up, clenched his fist, and punched the tree beside him. An animal with a dragon's head, antlers, lion's eyes, and a tiger's back and a bear's waist whizzed out from his fist. Ning Shu blinked. This was a qilin. The qilin leaped and fiercely crashed into a big tree. The big tree shook violently, and the accumulated snow on the branches fell down. With a creak, it fell to the ground. Liang stared blankly at the fallen tree on the ground. With just one punch, he had broken a tree. So strong. Yi Liang looked at his fist and turned to Ning Shu. He said excitedly, "Little Black, I did it. I did it. Congratulations." Ning Shu's tone was filled with gratification. But this is only the first step. After that, remember to compress the qi so that it can turn into a golden color. After that, you have to compress the spirit qi so that it can turn into a liquid state. If I do this, will I become incomparably strong? Yi Liang asked incomparably. After all, I haven't cultivated to that level yet. Ning Shu said vaguely. I believe that I will become strong. Yi Liang was filled with confidence. She felt that she was filled with power. She would become even stronger. Little Black, I want to go back now. I want to go back to the town to investigate my sister's disappearance. Yi Liang said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu did not object. Yi Liang hugged Ning Shu and said in a muffled voice, Luckily I have you by my side. Thank you, thank you. Yi Liang's tears wetted Ning Shu's fur. In the end, Yi Liang couldn't hold back his emotions and started bawling. She had suppressed it too much in the past. This cry made Yi Liang feel more relaxed and carefree. Ning Shu moved his ears and roared in her ears. Her ears were about to go deaf. Ah, you guys are leaving? Are you going somewhere with people? Take me there, take me there. Quick, quick, quick. The little fox jumped out and said urgently. Ning Shu, thank you for taking care of us all this time. We have to go now, Yi Liang said. From the time when it was a world of ice and snow, to now when the ice water melted, the sound of flowing water could be heard, and the wild grass sprouted. Winter was over. After spending so much time with the little fox, Yi Liang was very grateful to her. Sometimes, they would be given some food, although they were often tortured by illusions. Moreover, the little fox's illusions were becoming more and more powerful. There were some illusions that could draw out the things that people didn't want to experience the most. Yi Liang was often reminded of the pain of the past. His parents were gone, his sister was missing. His parents had been killed by demonic cultivators, and they had mournfully begged him for help. However, there was nothing he could do. Ning Shu suddenly felt a sense of comfort as if she had a son who had just grown up. The three of them arrived at the foot of the mountain. When they reached Yi Liang's house, they prepared to go in through the dog hole in the yard. But the dog hole had already been sealed. Yi Liang jumped onto the wall. Ning Shu also jumped onto the wall. Hey, carry me up. The little fox was anxiously running around below. Hey, Yi Liang, carry me up. Otherwise, you'll fall for my illusions again. The little fox threatened Yi Liang. Yi Liang helplessly jumped down. He carried the little fox and jumped onto the wall. The house seemed to have been renovated. The walls were painted red and the previously barren yard was now planted with flowers. But it wasn't time to bloom yet. It was just a patch of green. The house looked much better. And there were even maids walking around. It had already been taken over. Yi Liang saw that the house had changed, but he wasn't angry. He had thought of this when he escaped. Yi Shui had always wanted this house. Now that the house had no owner, he would definitely take over. What do you want to do now? Ning Shu asked Yi Liang. I want to take back the house. Yi Liang said in a low voice. He has a foundation establishment, grandfather. Ning Shu said, we have to plan thoroughly. Foundation establishment? The little fox in Yi Liang's arms said excitedly. I have yet to cast an illusion on a foundation establishment cultivator. Granny said that if I can trap a foundation establishment cultivator in an illusion, I can go anywhere I want. Chapter 1185. When the little fox heard that there was a foundation establishment cultivator, it was very excited and wanted to use him as a stepping stone for its freedom. Ning Shu felt that the little fox was really naive and innocent. A foundation establishment cultivator wasn't considered strong. There were still golden core cultivators, soul formation cultivators, Mahayana cultivators. There were many strong cultivators. Don't think that you can go to the ends of the earth just because you can deal with a foundation establishment cultivator. The little fox's granny would definitely make him defeat a golden core cultivator to gain his freedom. What a trap. Ning Shu glanced at the excited little fox and looked away. Poor child. Who's there? A servant saw Yi Liang standing on the wall and immediately shouted, I'm here to collect a debt. Yi Liang jumped off the wall and asked the servant coldly, Where's Yi Shui? Tell him to come out. The servant sized up Yi Liang and his gaze lingered on Ning Shu and the little fox with a greedy expression. Demonic beasts were very valuable. If he sold them to a demonic beast dealer, he would definitely make a lot of money. Moreover, there were two foxes. One was red and the other was white. Their fur was too beautiful. The servant straightened his back and said arrogantly, Are you here to offer your demonic beasts to my young master? You can give them to me now and I'll give you some benefits. Yi Liang was speechless. What the hell, offering a tribute? Did he think he was an emperor? Wasn't it obvious that he was here to pick a fight? Yi Shui's subordinates were the same as Yi Shui. They all liked to take things by force. He even wanted to offer Little Black and the little fox to him. Yi Liang couldn't be bothered to talk to him. He pushed the servant aside and walked into the house. Since Yi Liang didn't come out, he went in to find him. Oh no, someone hit me. The servant was pushed to the ground and immediately cried out, attracting a few guards. Yi Liang was surrounded by a few strong guards. This person stole young master's demonic beasts. Hurry and catch him. The servant climbed up from the ground and pointed at Yi Liang. Yi Liang was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. This was too shameless. Two demonic beasts suddenly became Yi Shui's. It was the same for the house. It was said that it belonged to the clan. Now, it was the same for the demonic beasts. Whether it was right or wrong, it was all up to them. Whatever they said, it was what it was. Obediently hand over these two demonic beasts. Otherwise, young Master Yi will not let you go. The manservant fiercely spat on the ground. He stared at Yi Liang with an unfriendly gaze. We caught him. Let me do it. The little fox looked at these people and was eager to try out its illusion technique. EXN had many things on his mind, and it was easy for him to fall into an illusion and not be able to extricate himself. As for Ning Shu, he wouldn't fall into his illusions at all. The little fox wanted to test its illusions on ordinary people. Ning Shu said, This is Yi Liang's business, don't worry about it. I'll leave that foundation establishment cultivator to you. The little fox asked, That foundation establishment cultivator is also Yi Liang's problem, right? Demonic beasts can still talk. If we catch them, young Master Yi will definitely reward us handsomely. The manservant heard the two demonic beasts talking and his eyes turned green. A few guards attacked Yi Liang. These guards all had some martial arts skills and were abnormally fierce as they pounced on Yi Liang. Yi Liang nimbly dodged the attacks and punched the guards one after another. After a while, the guards were beaten to the ground and could not get up. They lay on the ground moaning in pain. You wait. The manservant was flabbergasted and ran away. Yi Liang clenched his fists and was incomparably excited. He had really become strong. Before, he felt like he was dreaming, and when he woke up, he was alone again. Now, he easily defeated a few strong guards without panting. Only then did Yi Liang feel that he was strong and had grasped power. The little fox jumped into Yi Liang's arms. Yi Liang walked into the main hall. The main hall had been renovated. There were many tables, chairs, screens, and vases. It made the old house look much more luxurious. Yi Liang sat down and used his hand to comb the little fox's fur, waiting for Yi Liang to come. Yi Liang waved at the maid who was standing at the side. The maid fearfully walked in front of Yi Liang. Young master, what orders do you have? Prepare some tea and snacks for me. Yi Liang said gently. The maid was at a loss. He was clearly an enemy. Should she really treat him with good tea and food? The maid looked at the guards lying in the courtyard. Even the guards were not his match. It was better to prepare them for him. In any case, she could slowly stall for time. It's best if you hurry, Yi Liang said again. The maid's face trembled and she hurried away. Ning Shu looked at Yi Liang's calm appearance and felt that this child had grown up. He was not the child who would hug her and cry. Even if she was not by Yi Liang's side, Yi Liang could still walk on. The path of the strong was originally lonely. Soon, the maid brewed tea and brought 2 plates of snacks. There was a plate of candied fruits and a plate of wishful cakes. "Thank you." Yi Liang thanked the maid. The maid had a strange expression and quickly retreated. When the little fox saw the snacks, it jumped from Yi Liang's arms onto the table and held the snacks in its mouth. "This is human food." The little fox curled up into a ball and ate the snacks. Yi Liang calmly took a snack and placed it in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu opened her mouth and ate a piece of wishful cake. It was so sweet. It was so delicious. Ning Shu ate a piece and stopped eating. "What is this? I like to eat this." The little fox pointed at the candied fruits. "Candied fruits? Pack it up when you leave." Yi Liang grunted and picked up the teacup to drink tea. There were hurried footsteps outside the door, coming closer and closer. Soon they arrived at the door. "Who dares to cause trouble here?" Yi Xue's voice was gloomy. "Young master, that person brought 2 demon beasts." The servant's voice sounded and the 2 of them arrived at the door in a flash. Yi Xue stepped into the hall and saw Yi Liang leisurely drinking tea. He couldn't help but frown. "Who are you? Don't you recognize me?" Yi Liang put down the teacup. "It's only been a while and you already don't recognize me. You really are forgetful." Yi Xue frowned and carefully examined Yi Liang. He looked familiar, but he didn't dare to recognize him. The current Yi Liang was very different from the Yi Liang of the past. Yi Xue glanced at the little fox on the table and Ning Shu on the floor. His eyes narrowed slightly. "You really are forgetful." Yi Liang stood up. "I'm Yi Liang." "Yi Liang?" Yi Xue's pupils shrank as he stared at Yi Liang in disbelief. "How can you be that mad dog?" Yi Xue said coldly. Yi Liang didn't want to discuss whether he was Yi Liang or not. He said directly, "I'm here to take my house back." Yi Xue laughed, his face full of disdain. "I don't care who you are. You're very brave to ask me who I am in town." Chapter 1186. Yi Xue could do whatever he wanted in the town because he had a great-grandfather who was in the foundation establishment stage. Yi Xue had nothing to worry about. He was like an emperor in this town. So when Yi Xue heard that this person wanted a house from him, he smiled faintly. "You're dead for this house." Before Yi Xue could finish, Yi Liang's fist landed on Yi Xue's nose. Yi Xue felt a sharp pain in his nose. It was so sore that tears flowed out. There was even warm blood flowing out. His teeth were numb and several of them were missing. Yi Xue spat out a few teeth. His front teeth had been knocked out. Yi Xue touched his nose with a trembling hand. His hand was covered in blood. "Who?" Yi Xue's teeth were leaking. Yi Liang grabbed Yi Xue's collar. "I'll ask you again. Where did my sister go? If you don't tell me, it will be your neck next time. I will definitely break your neck." Yi Liang stared at Yi Xue indifferently. Yi Liang didn't have a ferocious expression. There was only a bone-chilling coldness. This kind of Yi Liang was terrifying. Yi Xue felt a chill on his neck. His nose and mouth were filled with the smell of blood. Yi Xue wanted to vomit. Yi Xue felt wronged. Why did he hit him without saying anything? Shouldn't he protect the house first? He didn't follow the rules. "What do you mean your sister?" I don't know," Yi Xue retorted. But without his front teeth, he couldn't speak clearly. Yi Liang's fist landed on Yi Xue's stomach. Yi Xue was in so much pain that his eyes popped out and his face turned red. Yi Liang let go of Yi Xue. Yi Xue fell to the ground with a plop. His body curled up like a shrimp. He was foaming at the mouth. There was a sour stench in the air. The little fox immediately cried out. "What are you doing? Can't you let me eat?" Yi Liang squatted down and looked down at Yi Xue. "I thought of my sister, Iro." Yi Xue's eyes turned. He didn't say anything. Yi Liang stood up and twisted his wrist. "Seems like I went too easy on him." "Wait, are you really Yi Liang?" Yi Xue said with difficulty. "I am. Can you tell me where my sister went?" Yi Liang looked at Yi Xue. "You're the one who doesn't take good care of your sister. Why do you want a sister from me, you bastard?" Yi Xue cursed. Yi Liang stomped heavily on Yi Shui's hand, crushing it with all his might, causing Yi Shui to howl in pain. I'll talk. Yi Liang raised his foot. Your sister is with my great-grandfather now. Impossible. Yi Liang immediately objected. This place was not far from the Yi ancestral house. If his sister was still here, why hadn't she appeared yet? It's true. My great-grandfather saw that your sister had a good foundation and said that he wanted to teach your sister. You better know what's good for you. Yi Shui's voice was filled with envy. A little girl like her actually had spiritual roots. Yi Liang pursed his lips tightly, his expression fluctuating with a trace of hope. Contrary to Yi Liang, Ning Shu was already prepared for the worst. If he really wanted to teach Yi Rou, there was no need to hide it from Yi Liang. If Yi Rou did not return home for a few years, she might not even be in this town anymore. If you want to find your sister, you can ask your great-grandfather. Back then, he saw that your sister had spiritual roots and wanted to teach her a lesson. Yi Shui only wanted to lure this mad dog away. It would be best if he went to his great-grandfather so that he could destroy his soul with a wave of his hand. Yi Shui wanted to kill Yi Liang, but he did not know how this bastard had suddenly become so powerful. Did he have any treasures on him? Or maybe he would become powerful too. Although he was always arrogant, in front of his great-grandfather, he was really subservient. If he had great power, Yi Shui's nose was still bleeding, but his mind was already fantasizing about having great power and 2 demon beasts. All of this would be his. When the time came, tens of thousands of people would grovel at his feet and he would become the most powerful person in the world. Power, money, beauty, and a harem full of beauties. When he was awake, he would control the world, and when he was drunk, he would lie on the knees of beauties. When Ning Shu saw Yi Shui's face covered in blood, she turned to look at the little fox with a dazed expression. The little fox must have cast an illusion on Yi Shui. Yi Shui's face twisted. As long as he killed the person in front of him, he would have everything. Yi Shui already hated Yi Liang in his heart. Under the bewitchment of the illusion, he suddenly jumped up and rushed towards Yi Liang as if he couldn't feel the injuries on his body. Yi Liang stretched out his fist and a qilin rushed out, piercing through Yi Shui's body. Yi Shui's body froze, his twisted face frozen. His pupils dilated and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell to the ground, dead. Yi Liang's face changed, the hands behind his back trembling uncontrollably. Let's go. Yi Liang's voice trembled imperceptibly as he turned to leave. Ning Shu followed Yi Liang. The little fox looked at the candied fruits on the table. Put them away first. As soon as Yi Liang left, a heart-wrenching cry came from the room. Young master, Yi Liang walked out the door and leaned against the wall to vomit. His back was hunched as he vomited until he was dizzy. Yi Liang vomited for a long time until his stomach was empty. He leaned against the wall with one hand and wiped the tears from his eyes with the other. Little Black, I killed someone, Yi Liang said weakly to Ning Shu. He covered his face with both hands as if he was crying. What are you crying for? You just killed someone, the little fox snapped. My granny said that people kill each other for all sorts of reasons. You just killed someone who deserved to be killed. Ning Shu remained silent. Yi Liang was only 13 years old and was still a child. Killing someone was naturally a psychological burden. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Yi Liang, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Don't hurt people. But if someone wants to hurt you, you have to fight back. Yi Liang put down his hands and looked at Ning Shu with reddened eyes. Strength is to protect yourself, not to bully others. That's because there's always someone better than you. If you bully others, you'll be bullied in return, Ning Shu said gently. Ning Shu felt that her godmother halo was shining brighter and brighter. Yes, that's right. Granny said that those who humiliate others must humiliate themselves. That person didn't look like a good person, the little fox said when she saw Ning Shu staring at her with hostility. She immediately went along with Ning Shu's words. The corner of Yi Liang's mouth twitched. His face was still as pale as ever. Yi Liang, we don't take the initiative to hurt people, but we can't let others hurt us either, Ning Shu said. I know. Yi Liang took a deep breath and smiled. Let's go to the ancestral house now. Chapter 1187. The Yi family's ancestral house was huge. It was a huge house. Yi Liang had high hopes that Yi Ro would be here. Yi Liang knocked on the door. The servant saw Yi Liang and asked impatiently, "Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Yi Xingjie," said Yi Liang. The servant dug his ears in disbelief. "Who are you talking about? How dare you say the ancestor's name?" Yi Xingjie was Yi Shui's great-grandfather, a foundation establishment cultivator. Scram! The servant slammed the door shut. As servants of an immortal, these servants were quite arrogant. Yi Liang was rebuffed. Ning Shu said coolly, "Try peaceful means before resorting to force. Knock again." Yi Liang knocked again. The servant opened the door and saw Yi Liang. He wanted to close the door without a second thought. Yi Liang reached out to block the door. The servant's face turned red, but he couldn't close the door. "How dare you barge into the ancestor's house? You must be tired of living." The servant knew he couldn't beat Yi Liang in strength and immediately used Yi Xingjie's name. Yi Liang felt a little speechless. Anyone who had anything to do with Yi Xingjie would always mention his name. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. Because of his great-grandfather, who was in the foundation establishment stage, people like Yi Shui could do whatever they wanted. "You'd better report that I'm looking for Yi Ro." "What Yi Ro?" "The ancestor is in seclusion. Can you bear the consequences of disturbing the ancestor's seclusion?" "There's a girl about 10 years old here. Do you know her?" Yi Liang asked expectantly. The servant was impatient. Yi Liang didn't want to waste time with the servant. He was blocked every time. Yi Liang kicked the door open and took his sister away without a word. He was up to no good. Yi Liang gathered his qi in his dantian and shouted, "Yi Xingjie, get out here. Get out here. Get out here." The little fox looked up and whimpered. "Who are you? How dare you make a ruckus here?" The ancestral house was much safer than the small house. In a short while, it was surrounded by people glaring at Yi Liang. Some of these people were Yi Xingjie's disciples, while others were guards. Yi Liang said, "I'm here for Yi Xingjie." "Impudent! You don't have the right to call the great ancestor by his name." Yi Liang flatly said, "Names are meant to be called. He is your ancestor, not mine." As Yi Liang spoke, his eyes searched for Yi Ro's figure. If Yi Ro was really here, why hadn't there been any news of her for so many years? She would have at least sent someone to deliver the news. However, his sister seemed to have vanished into thin air. There was no news of her at all. Yi Liang pursed his lips tightly and shouted, "Yi Xingjie, get the hell out here. Impudent! Capture him." The surrounding people rushed forward. Yi Liang was extremely calm and nimble. He effortlessly knocked these people down. It was a complete suppression. "Since you refuse to come out, I'll search the rooms one by one." Yi Liang stepped over the person lying on the ground and wanted to find Yi Xingjie one by one. "Impudent thing." A thunderous voice exploded in everyone's ears. Following which, a robust man in his 50s came out. The moment he came out, he glanced at the people on the ground and then looked at Yi Liang. His gaze then swept past Ning Shu and fixed on Little Fox. "What are you doing?" Yi Xingjie stared at Yi Liang sharply and pressed a powerful pressure on Yi Liang. Yi Liang withstood the powerful pressure alone. This pressure was like a mountain pressing down on his body, causing the veins on Yi Liang's forehead to bulge. Yi Liang gritted his teeth and controlled the qi in his body. Yi Xingjie saw that Yi Liang could withstand his pressure and couldn't help but frown. He retracted his pressure and asked lightly, "Don't you think it's rude to barge in like this?" Yi Xingjie said this to check Yi Liang's identity. To be able to withstand his pressure, he shouldn't be weak. With Yi Xingjie's status, how could he know Yi Liang? "I'm here to find my sister." "My sister, Yi Ro." Yi Liang stared at Yi Xingjie. Yi Xingjie was stunned at first. Then he narrowed his eyes and sized Yi Liang up. "I don't know who Yi Ro is." Yi Shui said Yi Ro was here. Yi Liang hurriedly said with a panicked expression, "Why should your sister be here?" Yi Xingjie said lightly. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking like an expert. Yi Liang was clearly panicking. He found out about his sister's whereabouts from Yi Shui. Now, Yi Xingjie said he didn't see Ro. Then where did Yi Ro go? Yi Xingjie looked at Yi Liang's young face. He was still a child. He said generously, "Seeing that you are young, I won't blame you for barging into the ancestral house." Yi Liang took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He asked Yi Xingjie, "Is it really nothing to do with you?" "Old ancestor?" A sharp and panicked voice sounded. Yi Shui's servant stumbled over. When he saw Yi Xingjie, he hurriedly said, "Old ancestor, young master Yi has been killed." Yi Xingjie's eyebrows rose. Who dares to touch Yi Shui? Yi Shui was his great-grandson. It would be a huge joke if his great-grandson was killed in his territory. It's the jinx. That bastard Yi Liang, he killed young master. The servant saw Yi Liang from the corner of his eye and pointed at him in horror. He killed young master. Yi Xingjie stared sharply at Yi Liang. Why did you kill Yi Shui? He kidnapped my sister, took over my house and wanted to kill me. Why can't I kill him? Yi Liang said calmly. My sister's disappearance must have something to do with you. My sister has spirit roots. It was you who took her away. You little bastard, you killed a member of my Yi family and now you're accusing me of something I didn't do. Chapter 1188. Why would the imperial court send a fiendish cultivator to manage a town? Perhaps no one knew that he was a fiendish cultivator. There were very few cultivators in this town. Everyone knew that Yi Xingjie was an immortal, but not a fiendish cultivator. The rolling black smoke rushed towards Yi Liang, accompanied by shrill cries. Yi Liang dodged the black smoke. Within the black smoke, there were grimacing faces of men and women, as though they were suffering from immense pain. Although Yi Liang dodged the black smoke continued to follow him. When the black smoke touched his body, it felt as though someone was biting him, chewing on his soul bit by bit. Little Black, what should we do? Yi Liang asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu replied, Don't worry. You can withstand it with your righteous energy. Yi Liang. Are you stupid? Can't you just destroy his flag? Red Fox said angrily. Why are you so stupid? Yi Xingjie's eyes lit up when he saw that the two foxes could actually speak. His blood soul banner did not have the souls of demonic beasts. If it had the souls of two demonic beasts, the banner would definitely be more powerful. Yi Liang looked at the flag in Yi Xingjie's hand. There were complicated patterns drawn on the flag. Yi Liang released his chi form, and a qilin flew towards Yi Xingjie. Yi Xingjie saw an almost transparent animal pouncing towards him, and he hurriedly dodged. The blood soul banner released even more black smoke. The entire ancestral house turned eerie, and shrill cries filled his ears. Ning Shu looked at the struggling souls. Some of the souls were at a loss, while some were extremely ferocious, biting Yi Liang's body. They were not biting the body, but the soul. They were tearing the soul apart. Ning Shu sprawled on the ground and started chanting the Taoist's incantation. Ning Shu spat out word by word, and as the words hit the black smoke immediately dissipated. The blood soul banner was Yi Xingjie's natal magic treasure, and he immediately felt that something was amiss. However, he was now being pestered by an unknown thing. This thing could not be killed, and it kept pestering him. Now, he could clearly feel that the power of his blood soul banner was weakening. Who is it? Yi Xingjie shouted loudly. He looked around to see if there were any experts lying in ambush. Yi Xingjie's face trembled. He was afraid of the person hiding in the dark. Ning Shu kept chanting incantations. These incantations smashed into the black smoke, and the black smoke began to slowly dissipate. The souls within it roared sharply. It was vicious and ferocious. Some souls no longer had their own consciousness. Father, mother? Yi Liang wailed. Two faces appeared in front of him. They were his parents. His parents' souls were in the black smoke, unable to control themselves. They were completely meaningless. No matter how he called out to them, there was no reply. It was still tearing at his soul. Ning Shu turned to look at the little fox who was eating the candied fruit. Did you cast an illusion on her? Nope. Even if I had to, I'd give it to that old man. Why would I do that to Liang? The little fox rolled her eyes. Ning Shu saw that Liang had sunk into great sorrow and was in a daze. He couldn't help but say, Liang, keep your mind clear. Father, mother. Liang only stared blankly at the souls biting his body. It's your turn. Ning Shu said to the little fox. Liang is doing this again. When it came to his family, Liang couldn't calm down. He couldn't control his emotions. His parents and sister weighed heavily on Liang's heart. They were already his inner demons. It seemed that Liang's parents were among the souls. Could it be that the fiendish cultivator who had captured Liang's parents was Shingjie? The little fox swallowed the candied fruit and began to set up an illusion. Shingjie, who was fighting the Qilin, saw that there was a shiny golden core in the Qilin's stomach. Xingjie's heartbeat quickened. His throat tightened. Golden core, this was a golden core. Xingjie felt that he would never have the chance to become a golden core cultivator in this lifetime. But now, there was a golden core in front of him. Xingjie reached out and stabbed the Qilin's stomach, grabbing the golden core. Without the support of the golden core, the Qilin dissipated. That kid was trapped by the black smoke. Feeling the cool and powerful golden core in his hand, Xingjie's breathing quickened. Without thinking, he swallowed the golden core and wanted to fuse it with the golden core. Using someone else's golden core couldn't be considered a true golden core cultivator. It was a fake golden core. However, Xingjie didn't care. The chances of him becoming a golden core cultivator in this lifetime were very small. Now that he could become a fake golden core cultivator, it was a qualitative breakthrough. There were too many cases of human cultivators stealing golden cores and nascent souls. Some people felt that it was hopeless and chose this method. Xingjie swallowed the golden core and sat cross-legged on the ground. He began to fuse with the golden core. To the onlookers, it was strange. They were still fighting. Why did he suddenly sit cross-legged on the ground? Ning Shu glanced at Xingjie and sped up his incantation. The billowing black smoke was a baleful aura. It was an evil aura. Souls would be eroded by the baleful aura. No, they wouldn't even have consciousness. They would be reduced to killing machines. Some would evolve into malicious ghosts and even devour the souls in the blood soul flag. Liang was still pulling his hair in pain. The little fox said angrily, "Why are you always like this? You know it's fake. Why are you still crying like a dog? You haven't experienced this kind of pain. How would you know the pain in Liang's heart?" "Hurry up and get rid of Xingjie. Then you'll be free," Ning Shu said. The little fox snorted. "Haha." Xingjie laughed heartily and stood up. "I've swallowed a golden core. From now on, I'm in charge of my own life." Ning Shu thought, so stupid, what was the little fox doing? Ning Shu shouted at Liang, "Liang, Xingjie is the murderer of your parents. He's right in front of you now." Liang's eyes were red as he stared at Xingjie. "You killed my parents. You mean a doctor and a disciple of the flowery sect? I killed them." Xingjie actually said it out loud. Xingjie's heart was filled with joy. He was now a golden core cultivator. Liang's mother was a disciple of a sect. She actually married an ordinary person. Why? Liang clenched his fists tightly. His whole body was trembling. Xingjie frowned. A woman who abandoned herself. She didn't dual cultivate with a cultivator. She didn't find a cultivator as her Tao partner. Instead, she found an ordinary person. What's so good about that man? He'll turn into a pile of dirt in a few decades. Ning Shu. Although he was chanting, Ning Shu couldn't help but imagine a love triangle when he heard Xingjie's resentful words. So what if he turned into a pile of dirt in a few decades? You even have a great-grandson. Should she marry you? Then he destroyed her family and killed her? Ning Shu didn't think it was that simple. Xingjie probably didn't like the existence of a threat to him in his territory. Chapter 1189. Liang did not expect his parents' death to be related to the Yi family's ancestor. Seeing Xingjie's nonchalant attitude, Liang felt his blood boil. Did he know that he had destroyed his family? His family was torn apart, and his family was almost destroyed. He had killed his parents and his sister had gone missing. How could he be so nonchalant about it? Then my sister, where did you take my sister? Yi Liang asked with bloodshot eyes. Yi Liang had a bad feeling. Since he hated his parents so much, his sister Yi Ro's situation might not be good. He wondered if Yi Ro was still alive. Your sister? Don't worry, I've taken good care of her. She's living comfortably in the Yin-Yang sect. Yi Xingjie's expression was strange. He looked like he was smiling but not smiling. It was so strange that it felt fake. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes at Yi Xingjie. There was definitely something fishy about the Yin-Yang sect. It was probably not the yin and yang of the black and white fish, but the yin and yang between men and women. Don't worry, your sister's foundation is very good. The Yin-Yang sect will definitely nurture her well and make her the perfect disciple, Yi Xingjie said with a smile. Yi Liang looked confused. He had never heard of the Yin-Yang sect. It was normal for a young man from a small town to not have heard of it. Everyone here respected Yi Xingjie, who was only in the foundation establishment stage, like an immortal. Yi Liang beat him up first. Ning Shu shouted at Yi Liang. The enemy was right in front of him. He had to beat him up first. Otherwise, why did he cultivate so hard? Yi Liang came back to his senses and wiped the tears off his face. He ignored the spirit that looked like his parents and bit him. Yi Liang roared. A Qilin jumped out from his back and charged at Yi Xingjie majestically. Yi Xingjie's eyes flashed with contempt. He was using the same trick again. He was a golden core cultivator now. This kind of insignificant trick was nothing to him. Feeling the violent power in his body, Yi Xingjie flicked his finger. However, Yi Xingjie's expression froze. He realized that his attack was useless. An almost transparent Qilin charged at him. What was going on? Yi Xingjie was extremely puzzled in his heart. He was already a golden core stage cultivator. Why couldn't he block this? There was clearly a violent and powerful energy in his body. Could it be that he had not completely fused with his Jindan? Yi Xingjie dodged the Qilin and tried his best to mobilize the power in his body to attack the Qilin. Suddenly, Yi Xingjie felt a massive wound on his back. The massive force caused Yi Xingjie's internal organs to shift. A heart-wrenching pain caused Yi Xingjie to cough out a mouthful of blood. Yi Xingjie turned around and saw a young man clenching his fist and smashing it on his back. His fist was not big, but it had such great strength that it was as if he had been hit by a moving mountain. In front of him was a Qilin rushing over, behind him was a young man. He was attacked from both front and back. Yi Xingjie used all of his strength and jumped out of the encirclement. He clutched his chest as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. How could this be? He was a golden core cultivator. How could he be defeated by a little brat? His body clearly had a powerful strength, but why did the little bastard get close to him and even injure him? Little bastard, I'll send you to see your parents today. Yi Xingjie roared angrily and quickly shook the blood soul banner in his hand. Billowing black smoke covered the sky and the earth. The entire ancestral house was shrouded in an eerie and terrifying atmosphere. Ning Shu frowned. There were so many souls. What a dense, baleful yin qi. Despair, resentment, hatred, and pain caused these souls to be even more painful and savage. The other people in the courtyard were shocked by this scene. They hugged their heads and wailed. Some people were tightly entangled by the black smoke. There were souls lying on their bodies, biting them and tearing their souls apart. Screams and painful roars filled the entire courtyard. Attacking living things had become the instinct of these souls. Was this kind of indiscriminate attack really good? Yi Liang was also entangled by the black smoke. His face was pale. Most importantly, his parents were also entangled in the black smoke. Their ferocious faces and their eyes were filled with hatred and ruthlessness. This caused Yi Liang's heart to ache. Yi Liang, only by defeating Yi Xingjie can your parents be free. Otherwise, they will suffer endless pain and will not be able to reincarnate. Ning Shu shouted at Yi Liang in a low voice. The longer you delay, the more pain they will suffer. Yi Liang clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He roared angrily. Ignoring the black smoke entangling his body, he pounced at Yi Xingjie. Ning Shu quickly chanted an incantation. Every time the incantation hit the black smoke, there would be souls roaring in pain. Yi Xingjie saw Yi Liang charging at him and snorted. "I'll let you see the power of a golden core cultivator." Yi Xingjie formed an incantation and a powerful attack struck at Yi Liang. It fiercely collided with the Qilin Qi. A loud sound was heard and even the air was distorted. Yi Liang did not stop. He clenched his fists and struck Yi Xingjie's chest with lightning speed. Time seemed to have stopped. After a while, Yi Xingjie spat out blood and flew out. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Xingjie laid on the ground and could not stop coughing out blood. His face was filled with disbelief. He was a golden core cultivator. How could he be sent flying by a brat, and in such a sorry state? Yi Liang did not allow any explanation. He punched Yi Xingjie's chest again. Pooh! Yi Xingjie spat out another mouthful of blood. The blood splattered on Yi Liang's face. Yi Liang did not care. He did not wipe the blood off his face and punched Yi Xingjie's chest again. If not for the fact that cultivators have a stronger body than ordinary people, Yi Xingjie would have been beaten to death by Yi Liang. Ah, my golden core? Yi Xingjie suddenly realized that the golden core in his dantian was gone. In an instant he fell from heaven to hell. He had only been a golden core cultivator for less than 2 hours. Where did his golden core go? Yi Liang looked indifferently at Yi Xingjie, who was on the verge of collapse. He stretched out his fist. A qilin roared out from his fist and pierced through Yi Xingjie's body. With a poochie sound, Yi Xingjie spat out a foot of blood, forming a blood mist. Yi Xingjie's breath was weak. He stared at Yi Liang with bulging eyes. "Don't kill me. I'll tell you where your sister is. I can bring her back." Yi Xingjie's face was like gold leaf. He was like a candle in the wind. One more time and he would definitely die. Ning Shu saw this scene and remained silent. It was all up to Yi Liang to deal with this. Ning Shu asked the little fox for a spirit stone. The little fox was very unwilling. She gave Ning Shu a spirit stone of good quality. "Remember to return it to me in the future." Ning Shu used the spirit stone to set up a simple yang gathering array. With this array, it could gather the surrounding yang qi to disperse the yin qi. Chapter 1190. Ning Shu set up the yang gathering array and the surrounding yang qi slowly gathered towards the ancestral house. However, the surrounding yin qi was too dense. This bit of yang qi was just a drop in the bucket. Ning Shu closed his eyes and started chanting. As for the matter between Yi Liang and Yi Xingjie, Ning Shu did not care and let Yi Liang handle it himself. If Yi Liang was really tricked by Yi Xingjie, it would be good for him to suffer. Yi Xingjie felt the qi in his body become chaotic. Until now, he still did not understand why his golden core was gone. Yi Xingjie's face became paler and paler. Every time his body moved, he vomited blood. Yi Xingjie took out some pills to heal himself with difficulty. Yi Liang kicked the pills away. Yi Xingjie did not expect that he would be bullied by a dog. He was beaten to death by a little bastard. "My death won't do you any good. Only I know where your sister is. If I die, you won't be able to find her." The only thing he could do now was to show weakness. The person in front of him was his father's murderer. Yi Liang could not resist the urge to drink his blood and bite him to death. "Where is my sister?" Yi Liang asked. "I know where she is. I'll bring you there. But you can't kill me." Yi Xingjie held his chest as he negotiated with Yi Liang. "Then tell me first. Is my sister in the Yin-Yang sect?" Yi Xingjie smiled mysteriously. "Of course she's in the Yin-Yang sect." "Then go to hell." Yi Liang's fist penetrated Yi Xingjie's body. His bloody hand was holding onto a heart. The heart was still beating twice. Yi Xingjie's expression froze. The strange smile on his face did not disappear. It was mixed with disbelief and confusion. Clearly, he could not understand why Yi Liang attacked him. If Yi Xingjie recovered in the future, he would be in a dangerous situation. Moreover, Yi Xingjie had killed his parents. He could not let Yi Xingjie off. Ning Shu felt gratified when he saw Yi Liang kill so decisively. Indecisiveness would only bring harm. It was already a blood feud. Only the death of one party could end it. It was best to kill decisively. Yi Xingjie didn't kill Yi Liang now because he was injured. What if he recovered? The Blood Soul Banner was Yi Xingjie's natal magic treasure. Now that Yi Xingjie was dead, the black smoke in the Blood Soul Banner was no longer under his control and dispersed in all directions. Under the corrosion of the baleful Yin Qi, these souls only had killing in their hearts. They would attack any living person they saw. If they went out, they would probably cause a great disaster. And it would only get stronger and stronger. The purpose of the Blood Soul flag was to control and store these souls. Ning Shu hurriedly said to Yi Liang, "Quickly refine the Blood Soul Banner." Hearing Ning Shu's voice, Yi Liang took out the flag from Yi Xingjie's arms. "What should I do?" "Use your heart's blood," the little fox interjected. Granny said that this is how humans refine magic treasures. Yi Liang looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "There's no need for heart blood. Ordinary blood will do." Refining the heart blood meant that the Blood Soul Banner would become his natal magic treasure. The combination of the heart's blood and the spiritual imprint would be used to refine the natal magic treasure. Ning Shu did not wish for Yi Liang's natal magic treasure to be the Blood Soul Banner. If he wanted the Blood Soul Banner to be strong, he had to constantly gather souls and kill people. Yi Liang clearly trusted Ning Shu more. When he heard Ning Shu's words, he cut open his palm and dripped his blood on the Blood Soul Banner. The little fox snorted when she saw this. She was very displeased. The Blood Soul Banner slowly absorbed Yi Liang's blood. Yi Liang immediately felt that he had a connection with the Blood Soul Banner. He found it very magical. "Quickly take back these souls," Ning Shu said to Yi Liang. "Guard the soul altar and control it with your mind." When Yi Liang heard Ning Shu's words, he hurriedly closed his eyes. Ning Shu was speechless. Why did he close his eyes? Yi Liang had just refined the Blood Soul Banner and had not fully grasped it. There was no movement for a long time. Yi Liang opened his eyes. There were souls biting him on his shoulders and legs. Yi Liang frowned and said, "The Blood Soul Banner is not listening to my control." He probably didn't wipe out his psyche imprint. When Ning Shu saw the black smoke and Yin baneful aura dissipate, he released his psyche power into the Blood Soul Banner. He found a transparent soul in one spot. It was likely Yi Xingjie's psyche imprint. When the consciousness saw Ning Shu, it immediately pounced over ferociously, wanting to devour Ning Shu's psyche. Ning Shu released a powerful psyche power and wiped out Yi Xingjie's psyche imprint. Ning Shu retracted his psyche power and said to Yi Liang, "Try again." Yi Liang closed his eyes and began controlling the Blood Soul Banner. Ning Shu expressed that this was not a good habit. What if the other party launched a sneak attack by closing his eyes? Soon, the Blood Soul Banner began to absorb the surrounding black smoke. The souls in the black smoke roared in fear and indignation. Yi Liang listened to these voices and tried his best to find his parents. However, there were so many souls in the black smoke that he couldn't find them. About an hour later, the Blood Soul flag finally collected all the black smoke. The originally dark and gloomy ancestral house suddenly brightened up, and sunlight shone down on it. The people in the yard were lying everywhere. Some of them had ferocious expressions. Their expressions were frozen and extremely distorted, as though they had seen something extremely terrifying. Their souls had clearly been devoured by the souls in the black smoke. There were also some people who were in a daze. Their eyes were in a daze as though they had gone mad. Clearly, their souls were incomplete or they had been shaken. "Blackie, let's go quickly," Yi Liang said to Ning Shu. His face was pale. Clearly, controlling the Blood Soul Banner was still difficult for him. Yi Liang found some money in the ancestral house. Ning Shu saw a jade slip and got Yi Liang to keep it. Cultivators used jade slips to store information. Yi Liang put away a few jade slips before leaving with Ning Shu and the little fox. The man and two foxes left the ancestral house. Yi Liang ignored his exhausted body and bought some basic necessities in town. Yi Liang bought a few matches and wrapped them in oiled paper. Because he didn't have any matches in the past, he suffered a lot. He couldn't warm himself with fire or barbecue meat. Now that he thought about it, it wasn't easy to survive the winter. He bought a water bottle, dry food, and some medicinal powder to treat wounds and stop bleeding. Buy some candied fruits. I like candied fruits, the little fox said immediately. Liang bought some more candied fruits. Candied fruits were snacks that only rich people had. Liang couldn't bear to eat them. Where are we going now? I've already defeated a Foundation establishment cultivator. I'm free, the little fox said vaguely as she ate the candied fruits. Ning Shu, I want to go to the Yin Yang sect to find Ro. Liang packed up. We'll leave immediately. Ning Shu wasn't surprised. Liang would definitely go find his sister after hearing about it. All right, I'll go with you, Ning Shu said. Thank you, Blackie. Liang's eyes glistened. Chapter 1191. Since Liang wanted to go, Ning Shu naturally had to follow. This world's mission was to repay Liang. Once Liang was strong enough to repay the debt of saving his life, he would be able to leave this world. Me too. I will go too. The little fox was eager to try. He was too curious about the human world. Ning Shu glanced at the excited little fox. This guy didn't have any ability, but his ability to cause trouble was not small. Furthermore, there would definitely be people who knew about the red fox's innate skill. This was simply pulling aggro for Liang. Liang really didn't have it easy. Furthermore, this guy was acting like a young master and wanted to eat this and that. He didn't treat himself as an outsider at all. Only Liang's thoughts were pure and didn't think of using him. He reckoned that others would be able to trick him away by giving him something to eat. The man and the two foxes left the town. Ning Shu said, "Take out the jade slip from before and see if there is any useful information." It was too inefficient for them to search for the Yin Yang sect aimlessly. How do I use this jade slip? Liang asked. Liang was a cultivation newbie. He had never come into contact with such things before. Ning Shu said gently, "Send your consciousness into the jade slip. If you can't take it, quickly withdraw." Ning Shu sent his mental energy into the jade slip. This jade slip recorded a cultivation technique. Ning Shu recorded the cultivation technique in his mind. Anyway, the more the better. Who knew when it would be useful? She had always been cultivating peerless martial arts. Now, peerless martial arts had become her hope to build a world. After memorizing it, Ning Shu retracted his mental energy and looked at Liang. Liang's expression was strained. He had to concentrate on looking at something. His mental energy was tense. Furthermore, the information in the jade slip was very complicated. With Liang's mental energy, he seemed to be straining. This is information about the various cultivation sects and the royal family. Liang said word by word. His expression was somewhat ferocious. Ning Shu hacked into the jade slip. There was detailed information in it. The history of the various sects, as well as some meritorious deeds and experts from the sections. However, her guess was confirmed when she saw the Yin Yang sect. This Yin Yang sect was really a sect that harvested Yin to nourish Yang. This sect had a special method to turn women into the most suitable furnaces for cultivation. Moreover, these women basically had no intentions of their own. Whenever they saw a man, they would open their legs for the Yin Yang sect's disciples to cultivate. Although the Yin Yang sect was looked down upon by the other sects, it was still a sect that many men chose. Not only could he enjoy the pleasures of the fish, but he could also improve his abilities. When Liang saw the Yin Yang sect's introduction, his blood rushed to his head. Instantly, he couldn't hear anything outside. His ears were buzzing. It was unimaginable that his sister would end up in such a place. Ning Shu guessed that the Yin Yang sect must have given Yi Xingjie some benefits, which was why Yi Xingjie gave Ro to the Yin Yang sect. Liang's eyes were red, his whole body was trembling, and his hands were pounding the ground. Ning Shu comforted him, "Don't be so pessimistic. Your sister is still young, only 10 years old. Which sect wouldn't go so far as to not let off a 10-year-old child? Also, it takes a lot of time to create a perfect furnace. Your sister's situation isn't as bad as you think. You have to be strong. How are you going to save your sister like this? Ning Shu earnestly advised. He felt like he had really become an annoying mother. Il-yang quickly adjusted his emotions. Fortunately, after so many years of tempering, Il-yang's heart had become tenacious. The yin-yang sect's entrance was in the Heavenly Creek Valley. Their current destination was the Heavenly Creek Valley. Ning Shu rolled around in the mud. His white fur immediately became dirty. His white fur was too eye-catching, so it was best if he was dirty like this. He was afraid he would grow lice. "That's so ugly." The little fox looked at Ning Shu's dirty body with disdain. Ning Shu calmly said, "Roll him around as well." Red fur was also eye-catching. "No, I won't." The little fox struggled as it was caught by Il-yang, but in the end it couldn't escape the fate of being covered in mud. The little fox had nothing left to live for. Ning Shu suddenly asked the little fox, "Can only your Red Fox clan's people cultivate illusion techniques?" "It's not that there's only the Red Fox clan, but we are experts in illusion techniques. This is innate, so there's no point in being envious," the little fox proudly said. "Other people can also learn it?" Ning Shu asked. "Of course not. You want to learn it?" "That's not possible. Our clan's secret techniques are not revealed." The little fox instinctively extinguished Ning Shu's little thoughts. "Illusions are the foundation of our Red Fox clan. If you know illusions, you can break them, so don't think that I'll teach you. Grandmother will kill me," the little fox said with a serious face. Ning Shu gave a sigh in his heart. A technique that could create illusions made Ning Shu drool. Normal formations only had the appearance, but the Red Fox's illusions were able to evoke a person's inner desires. Beautiful things that they were willing to sink into, painful things that they couldn't bear to look back on, or things that their heart desired the most. It could magnify the 7 emotions and 6 desires. But it seemed like the possibility of learning illusions was very small. She and the little fox were not close enough to each other to dig out their savings.